My name is Erica Lorraine Spencer, and I remain subject to state surveillance and terrorism by the state of California that is operating a malicious targeting system which is referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices. And it is in violation of federal stalking statute 18 U.S.C. sections 2261A subsections 1 and 2. My website and podcast serve the public good by publishing evidence of the public entity's ceaseless engagement in a pattern of conduct intended to stalk and monitor via communication devices, surveil, harass, and terrorize an American citizen in concert with the people of the state of California. Documentation serves the lawful purposes of wide exposure, federal prosecution, and influencing federal legislation with policies specifically designed to punish, dismantle, and disincentivize an unprecedented targeting system by a public entity that acts in concert with the people of the state in order to criminally place under surveillance and terrorize an American citizen, which is a matter of public corruption in the state of California. Notice: intellectual property theft is particularly egregious and equally unlawful where the sole inventor and creator of the intellectual property is the targeted individual. Erica Lorraine Spencer, subject to the unconstitutional and inhumane government system of gang stalking, otherwise referred to as federal group stalking and monitoring via communication devices, because of which the intellectual property created by the targeted individual, who is, in fact, Erica Lorraine Spencer, as the intellectual property also proves, serves to establish via evidence and expose the existence of criminal surveillance and thus an inherent threat posed by the U.S. government and the civilian population sharing engagement in the unlawful system. Such evidence, that includes all of the content created by Erica Lorraine Spencer, images, videos, audio, etc., belongs solely and entirely to Erica Lorraine Spencer only and is necessarily published online in order to protect her life, safety, and liberty as the targeted individual, who is also the intellectual property owner, no less protected from theft procured through targeting by a public entity. Theft of any intellectual property belonging to Erica Lorraine Spencer, which is necessarily committed while she, being both creator and inventor, remains oppressed by the public entity via criminal surveillance, is a criminal and inhumane means of infringement under all circumstances and not protected nor enforceable pursuant to any invalid or fraudulent acts of copyright, trademarks, patents, etc., including as it pertains to any ideas associated with or generated from the intellectual property or the intellectual property owner, Erica Lorraine Spencer, whether creative, business, or otherwise, nor does the intellectual property owner consent to any such means of infringement and theft. Erica Lorraine Spencer here. The following is an audio version of video evidence that is captured for purposes of mass distribution, which is why I am capturing it and sharing it on the podcast for evidentiary purposes and also to reveal the wealth of documentation that extends beyond what it is that I document on podcasts. Much of the video and images will be published onto the YouTube channel, the P.O.C, and it is also shared on the Google Drive. Again, this is for purposes of revealing what I remain subject to, which is federal group stalking and monitoring. It is a demonic system of state surveillance that the government is practicing in concert with the people of the state, and it should be known and well understood that for the government to engage in federal group stalking and monitoring, this is a crime that is committed with a criminal purpose to threaten the life of an American citizen. This is to conspire to murder and or permanently kidnap an American citizen while engaging in a perpetual sex offense in concert with the people of the state. Ontario police is gang stalking in the plaza and over here, in the plaza over here, and the Ontario police is flying in a circle over here, engaging in a satanic ritual. And the people of the state are pacing. You know, the engineered light flies all over the place when they cross path. They're driving in this. They're monitoring. And the Ontario police is obsessed with me flying in circles incessantly. It's, again, 11
it's 12:05 a.m., has not left from flying over me. It's still flying over me. And now that I'm recording, ceased from flying in a circle over there, is now crossing path flying over here. Remember when I was on video, when I was speaking on podcast, you heard the helicopter. That's evidence I'm going to use against the Ontario Police Department. You can hear the helicopter activity. They're stalking while I'm documenting in real time, and they fly off while I stop recording. Ontario Police gang stalking, flying down the street, violating the speeding laws while they're gang stalking me. Doing so while they are then driving into this plaza over here, while this demon is flying in a circle, and the Ontario Police are engaging in what is driving over 80 miles per hour. They're speeding very fast on down this street, and they're doing so because they're gang stalking me. They're violating the speeding laws while they're stalking me, and doing so with this demon in a helicopter that's pacing, and it's now flying all around because I started recording. It's still stalking. That's light activity, relevant positioning, and audible activity monitoring. And here are all the shadows proving that to you. This is an ongoing monitoring conduct, and the entity is doing so in these lights. You don't have multiple shadows per how many light bulbs you have. That's not the normal light activity. That's a demon stalking me in a helicopter. Ongoing evidence against Nathan Morgan, B. Hook, C. Torres, and L. Martinez, who are gang stalking police officers. That's an oxymoron. There's no such thing as a gang stalking police officer. They're going to federal prison for being domestic terrorists and doing so under the guise of engaging in law enforcement, which is also why the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. Engaging in what is kidnapping is the line. All right, you're taking people's liberty while you're stalking them. And they're the same ones that take American citizens' lives and then tell the story about what happened. They're the ones that are engaging in what is making up the information with regard to what they're supposed to be investigating as well. They have too much ability to control the narrative, too much discretion. It must be met with federal prison. That demon, that psychopath, that bastard has the audacity to be flying in a circle repeatedly, incessantly, while I'm documenting on podcasts. And then the demon flies by in a vehicle, stalking a relevant position down there, while all these co-defendants continuously keep pacing. They're stalking. They're ongoing stalking. Helicopter here. The demons in the parking lot over there, surrounding me, in other words. The Ontario Police Department are surrounding. And as I start recording, you're watching that demon fly around out of vision. Still stalking. Okay, it is currently 12:07 p.m. All of this is going toward federal prison for gang stalking, kidnapping police officers. Okay, Satan's little wannabes that are feigning being cops, and they're not legitimate cops. They're going to federal prison. Everybody that put their hands on me, everybody that had anything to do with kidnapping me, when I lost my liberty, you're going to prison for it. And your partners are providing evidence as to why you're going to federal prison for what you did, which is documented, and what you were doing, which is this gang stalking when you committed kidnapping. This entire department, you're going to prison. It is currently, by the way, 12:08 a.m., where the people of the state are gang stalking with the government, and the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking as surely as you see third parties crossing path and impossible light activity under the fake moon in conformity to the government's pattern of conduct. It's the government's pattern of conduct. The government's being prosecuted, and the government's criminal activity also prosecutes the people of the state. And the government's criminal conduct is going to serve to put its own brothers in federal prison, their own brothers and sisters in prison. P.O.C. This is impunity of the Ontario Police. They're stalking. Light activity, relevant positioning, audible activity. That's P.O.C. P.O.C. Ontario Police is going to federal prison. Psychopaths are being removed from law enforcement. P.O.C. All right, 7XPX861, 9MVY052. Starbucks is gang stalking as usual, 8SGW078. This is pacing. And this is, again, getting to the corruption of Starbucks that's engaging with federal group stalking and monitoring while they're profiting from what is domestic terrorism. This is gang stalking while they're selling products, okay? Selling what is drinks. Ontario Police is gang stalking Jay Hernandez, I believe his name is. He's gang stalking in the corner of the restaurant where I've already documented the fake sun. The entity is covering up the fake sun. Remember, LAPD is under the fake sun as well when I'm in Los Angeles, subject to federal group stalking and monitoring. Ontario Police engage in gang stalking all night long, all day long, under the fake sun, and at night under the fake moon and engineered light, which remains right now. License 1591756. This is the police stalking and coming to the venues where I'm at. This is what they're doing everywhere that I'm at the museum, at the library, at the Woodside Senior Apartments, when I am at Starbucks, when I'm documenting, and it is stalking by the state because the specific environment is remaining. The specific environment is supernatural. And that's speaking to recognizing the setting where corrupt businesses are gang stalking, such as the sun at 7:25 in the morning in alignment to me, over me, and what is 7:26 p.m. at the same address, which is what Starbucks is documented engaging in, covering up the fake sun. Because why? I went to the OVITT Family Community Library, and these demons who are short-sighted are engaging what is a pattern of conduct with regard to a body of evidence. Covering up the fake sun one morning does not erase all the evidence, especially as of late, June 3rd, 2025 to the present, where the entity's been maintaining the fake sun over 507 North Euclid Avenue all day long, replete with what is engineer light flying inside of the venue. Covering up the sun is the same specific environment. Vehicle 1027, the people of the state are gang stalking with the Ontario police. All right, this state actor is subject to federal prison. This is the police stalking. Coming into the venue that's gang stalking is the convenient basis of merely buying a drink. Engaged in federal stalking with the people of the state as I document their license plate, as I take their pictures, and the entity is aware that they're being documented. Very passive-aggressive gang stalking conduct, psychopathic. This is the same Ontario police flying in circles over me by helicopter right here at this venue, where you can see the light source right here. It's covered up. Remember, it is currently 8:57 a.m. and right here on the same sidewalk, the fake sun is over me at 3 o'clock in the afternoon, where the Ontario police, who are gang stalking under a subdued fake sun, are gang stalking. Remember, at 11:54, the Ontario police are gang stalking, the psychopathic, passive-aggressive stalking by police officers who are psychopaths, keeping their back to me at 11:54 a.m. when they're gang stalking by being at Chevron under the fake sun. The entity gang stalking at what is 6 o'clock, 6:18 p.m. to be specific, while they're pacing in traffic, where you know these demons that drive by and engineer light moves inside, and the Ontario police are gang stalking, engaging in what is ongoing domestic terrorism and psychological torture. Entering into the venue is the communication of a threat, which you're going to prosecute for. All right, the itself has no protection with regard to engaging in the pattern of conduct, and the entity is going to be prosecuted for stalking as a police department. So engaging in what is obstruction of justice tactics methods when I document the entity, the police arriving, and that's just to be in the physical path. They're engaging in criminal conduct. It's criminal surveillance. Pursuant to surveillance 9 PVA 565 of the people of the state that I'm documenting, and they're coming into the venue engaging what is pacing, crossing path in the specific environment. The fake sun rising from 7 until 7. This is P.O.C, Ontario Police. P.O.C. That's federal prison for everybody working. It's all federal stalking. All of it is federal stalking, and they're monitoring on my devices. P.O.C. It is currently 9:51 a.m. and in conformity to the pattern of conduct, as I start recording, the demons of the city of Ontario create light activity. That's Ontario Fire that you saw gang stalking under the 7:25 a.m. fake sun, engaging in criminal summoning right here at the Starbucks, where the sun would not be present from 7:25 until, again, 2 hours later. It's at the same location, the same address, and the same city is engaged in what is the criminal misuse of emergency vehicles for purposes of surveillance, and it's also exhibiting demon possession while they engage in it. It's a matter of public corruption that they're sharing with the people of the state as they're engaging in what is light activity creation. They're engaging in what is the maintenance of presence in the path while the government's engaging in the P.O.C. So the other demon sounds the sirens and lights, and this demon, the same Ontario Fire Department, crosses path. That's a psychopathic and ongoing stealth even though it's not very stealth, it's under the fake sun, but the entity is engaging in what is breaking apart, engaging in the same elements together while the Ontario Fire Department crosses path on Holt Boulevard and crosses path right here on Euclid Avenue. It is currently 9:51 when I'm starting this video. It's 9:52 a.m. What you can see at the top is the documentation on June 8th when the entity is keeping the fake sun over 706 West Holt Boulevard. That's one angle of analysis when you're recognizing Starbucks as a company is engaged in the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. This is where you saw the Ontario police gang stalking me today. Having the fake sun covered up is no deviation from that P.O.C. The entity is covering up the fake sun as I have exposed the fact that it's not a natural environment. And as I document, the demons who stalk with impossible light go on inside of the restaurant and maintain presence in the path while they're stalking with children in tow and crossing a path, keeping your back to me while you're stalking under the fake sun, obsessively monitoring. They're doing so under the fake sun that you'll also recognize is not over the OVITT Family Community Library like it was yesterday, and I'll show you that. The entity is maintaining the light source and doing so in a manner that's just audible activity. It's intentional. The vehicles that drive by, it's intentional. Everything happening under the fake sun with regard to what they're anticipating that I expose about them. So I'm going to show you where the entity is keeping the fake sun yesterday, as I was reminding you about what Corey Watson was doing under the 9:18 a.m. fake sun yesterday. The day before yesterday, before I came to the OVITT Family Community Library, which is what happened on June 12th. Today's June 13th, and at 10:19 a.m. I'm capturing the fake sun over the roof of the OVITT Family Community Library. I'm on the inside of the library, capturing the fake sun over the top of my head, where again, I'm not inside of the library, and the entity is going to keep the fake sun here in conformity to the pattern of conduct, where the unnatural environment is the indicator of criminal surveillance by the people of the state. They're under this hooded structure. You remember my podcast yesterday, the demon possessed, just like on Euclid Avenue when I'm inside of Starbucks, driving by an impossible light moving all across the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library doors. This is an entity that's engaged in federal stalking. Those that are not natural born citizens, not just Latinos subject to deportation, but those openly engaging in impunity, gang stalking in the way that you're seeing in the specific environment. This is Starbucks engaging in surveillance. This is the entity that's maintaining the fake sun yesterday at 9:57 a.m. It's 9:54 a.m. The entity is maintaining this light source over the OVITT Family Community Library into the afternoon. If you'll recall, I'm standing at the side of the OVITT Family Community Library yesterday, and right now, the OVITT Family Community Library is in this direction where the Ontario Fire Department that's keeping me under surveillance, the City of Ontario, knows what I'm doing as I do it, while the people of the state are gang stalking on their behalf. And the entity maintains sirens and lights with regard to activity creation, monitoring, and it's also harassment, psychological torture. But the entity is engaging when it's keeping the fake sun. There's no sun over there, which is where the OVITT Family Community Library is. The sun is, however, in the same manner that it is yesterday at the same time over the top of my head. It's just that I'm in an entirely different location, which is not maintaining the same natural environment. But you already know that, because standing on the same sidewalk after 3 o'clock in the afternoon, the fake sun is still here, where the Ontario Police, the same City of Ontario, are gang stalking in helicopter. When you see them flying by, just like you saw the Ontario Fire Department driving by, gang stalking in the supernatural environment. The entity is doing so with the people of the state that are maintaining, walking in the engineer light is monitoring, driving in the engineer light is monitoring, driving by an engineer light swimming inside of the venue is monitoring. Presence under the fake sun that is not at the same time over the OVITT Family Community Library is monitoring. And the entity maintained this light source yesterday at 9:57. It's currently 9:56 a.m. And this light source is at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where you're looking at crossing a path. These are demons who are pacing one body after another, after another, after another, after another. And they enter with regard to filling the venue as I started capturing images of the fake sun outside of this window right here, which you cannot see over the OVITT Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, right down there. And as I move away from the venue, that's where the entity keeps this fake sun over me. That's how I have it here still at what is 3:47, 3:48 in the afternoon. That's how I have it still over this same roof, like you saw the Ontario Police gang stalking with the people of the state, the demons that stalk with light under a fake sun and just go in and buy a drink to engage in the pattern of conduct. And the entity has the fake sun here at 6:18 p.m. like I documented, where I am standing at this same exact location. The point is that the entity is maintaining the light source over me where the people of the state are targeting. And this is the same entity that's gang stalking at the state facilitating venue of the OVITT Family Community Library at 215 East C Street, where you're looking at activity creation. That's the significance of keeping it over the venue. They're not in sunlight, neither is that sunlight that sweeps inside of the venue while they're in traffic crossing path. Okay, this is showing you what is a comparison with regard to the two venues. While the entity is maintaining a light source, this is the venue where the entity is maintaining that specific environment which defies nature. And don't forget what else I documented yesterday. Not only was the fake sun over the venue, but it remained over the venue well into the afternoon. Recall this, while the entity stalks with plane activity, aware of the damning evidence. This is what you saw yesterday. Let me go ahead and get that for you. While the entity is stalking with planes, there's no airport over here. It's about what I'm doing, and you know that because the fake sun is over me. The entity kept the fake sun over me, and that's engineer light. Remember, the sun's over Starbucks right now, so there's no sun over the OVITT Family Community Library when you're recognizing stalking with engineer light. There is no natural environment where the sun would still be over the OVITT Family Community Library, like I documented at 2:18 in the afternoon yesterday. And not only is the sun not over at the same time like it was 24 hours ago, it remained over the OVITT Family Community Library out of conformity with the natural environment as well, while it's still at that front entrance as I step out to get it at 2:19 p.m. This is the P.O.C. This is where the City of Ontario is gang stalking. You've witnessed the Ontario Police Department today gang stalking on video again, gang stalking in the specific environment. That's what this demon is doing while they're keeping my documentation, keeping me under surveillance. That's what the Ontario Police is doing in this video, where again, moments after I capture this, the fake sun that was already here begin shining. Okay, but you could see it in this video. It was covered up in the same location. This is where the people of the state are engaging in the P.O.C, and they're doing so exhibiting severe mental illness. The entity that is gang stalking with knowledge that they're being documented. They're gang stalking in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. They're gang stalking with an obsessive endeavor with regard to following me everywhere that I go, and also monitoring my vagina in bathrooms. They're sex offenders. That's the significance of gang stalking, and it's recognized in that environment. That defies nature. I just want you to see Hernandez, I believe is his name. He's gang stalking. You can see the vehicle and the license plate. I will publish it on to YouTube, but he is gang stalking inside of the Starbucks where I'm documenting the fake sun. That is not at the same time over the OVITT Family Community Library. This is the city of Ontario that is even in this video gang stalking the Ontario Fire Department, the Ontario International Airport, and this is the Ontario Police Department stalking day and night, committing kidnapping on what is May 29, 2025. The sun that is over in the natural environment in Los Angeles would not also be over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, where the entity keeps the fake sun, just like I'm showing is the pattern of conduct, where in the direction north, the sun is not maintaining this ubiquitous presence. You see it's right here. You see my shadow here. It's not in that direction, meaning they are not looking at the sun in the same vantage point, the same angle, the same visual that I have. The entity's keeping the fake sun over the roof of the library while I am there, subject to that P.O.C. And this is Starbucks that's engaging in it. Amplified audible activity inside of the walls while they're engaging in harassment, stalking with impossible light, and the cafe clears out. All right, while they're engaged in that P.O.C. The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct and is doing so while monitoring the evidence against them, and they're doing so with regard to a lost endeavor. It's entirely defeated while the entity is still gang stalking me and will be subject to federal prison. Understand the purpose, not only what I'm exposing about the government, crossing a path, light activity, and audible activity even as I narrate. This is monitoring, and then a psychopath engages in what is stalking in a bathroom in order to use a communication device to keep in a relevant position on behalf of the government. Most notably, the Ontario Police Department, who's gang stalking me day and night, like you saw again overnight by helicopter. The entity is engaging in a P.O.C. and is doing so in a satanic method, and that's what's relevant about the light source remaining over Starbucks and not being in a natural environment at a distance away from me where I would see it in a vantage point near the OVITT Family Community Library. This is stalking, all right? Stalking is shown in that environment that defies nature, and it's very obvious stalking because LAPD is stalking as well at this time of year where the entity is maintaining that environment. So I just want to be clear, the entity that is targeting is the same entity that engaged in kidnapping on May 29, 2025, and the entity that is incentivized to engage in this is incentivized by people like Tracy Banks. The entity that is gang stalking is incentivized by people like Jason Isaac Fields, whom I never had any marriage with. I never had any romantic relationship with. I never forgot that I've never been married to anyone, and so there is a motive behind gang stalking, and the government is engaging in what is targeting American citizens while I'm showing you surveillance is indeed underway. And while surveillance is underway, the entity is engaging in what is targeting American citizens. And for purposes of Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, this mother and son dynamic who are having sex with each other while they're both targeting me, and they're targeting me with the Ontario Police Department, the Los Angeles Police Department, doing so in furtherance of committing kidnapping and murder, which is again what Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, the Ontario Police Department, Arrowhead Regional Medical Center, accomplished with regard to May 29th through June 3rd, 2025. And my evidence is speaking to that which precedes the prosecution of the Ontario Police Department for kidnapping. It's showing what is the ongoing overall scheme by the entity that is targeting, and those who are, again, who I know by name. I don't have to know them by name to show you what criminal surveillance is including and where you're identifying it, but it is relevant to those that are engaging in a satanic targeting system recognized in a demonic environment in concert with the government that's engaging in that P.O.C., and it is in concert with those whose name I do know, and it includes those such as Tracy Banks and Jason Isaac Fields, Eric Corey Spencer, people who are engaging in what is having involvement in my personal life, except Jason Isaac Fields. This person is merely having sex with Tracy Banks. This person is engaged in federal group stalking and monitoring, having a sexual relationship with Tracy Banks, lying on paper about being married to me, that never happened, and also engaging in what is profiting from my demise. So my being kidnapped, my being defamed, my being subject to being targeted is that which is serving to benefit a terrorist like Jason Isaac Fields, who belongs in federal prison. Tracy Banks belongs in federal prison, specifically a mental asylum, and so does Eric Corey Spencer, every other third party that are engaged in targeting me with the government. That's what's relevant with regard to the details about the kidnapping that I'm going into. And as I'm showing you, as I go from place to place, and the entity entity is engaged in the pattern of conduct. This is happening day and night, and it's on behalf of what are the people of the state whose name I know who are interested in the entity targeting me. They are the entity, they are the the entity whose name I know, I identify them personally. However, this is the state of California. It's the U.S. government's criminal pattern of conduct, where there's, number one, what I've established, surveillance, which is demonic, and in that surveillance system, which I want to make sure is, I reiterate, the entity engages in targeting American citizens, and that's what I've been subject to. Kidnapping, murder, lying, trying to create an attachment to me with regard to a marriage that never happened is the entity such as Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks's motive to establish a connection to me so that they can steal from me, so that they can kidnap me upon defamation, kidnapping by the state, that's gang stalking, and then stealing what belongs to me. That's the malicious purpose behind kidnapping. That's also why gang stalking police officers go to federal prison. This is why the people of the state that are gang stalking with the police go to federal prison. This is why the gang stalking establishments such as Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue and 215 East C Street at the OVITT Family Community Library that are not in the same environment such that the sun is in its zenith over the top of my head at the same time at both venues, which I want to remind you about again. The entity maintaining the fake sun not only at 9:50 as I'm capturing today, but it remained after 2 o'clock in the afternoon as I went into the afternoon and captured that light source. The entity is engaged in an outright departure from any sort of operation of the natural environment. The entity is doing so with regard to your ability to identify targeting. It is currently 10:05 a.m. The entity maintained this fake sun over the OVITT Family Community Library yesterday, both before now. I was documenting on podcast yesterday. I was reminding you about Corey Watson gang stalking inside of this Starbucks, recognized, highlighted by the hallmark of the fake sun, which the entity maintained in an outright departure from what the natural environment would incur, which is the sun being in substantially the same location for me to document it again. And the entity is stalking as you're looking at an outright departure from the operation of a natural environment. The entity is doing so while they're engaged in criminal surveillance. All right, so it's an unlawful threat to my life that Jason Isaac poses, that the Ontario Police Department, that the City of Ontario poses, stalking me by planes and helicopters, stalking me via the people of the state, stalking me by police departments, and stalking me literally through those whose name I know, including Tracy Banks, fake family members, in other words, and those who are inclined to target me for monetary purposes, such as Jason Isaac Fields, manufacturing a marriage with me. Again, this is the entity that's conspiring murder and kidnapping, and it requires federal prison. It is currently 10:06 a.m. This is relevant context regarding the specific environment where the entity is documented engaging in that P.O.C. And this is relevant to the kidnapping that the Ontario Police Department, who was gang stalking now with the entity, and did so in furtherance of the conspiracy to murder and kidnap on behalf of gang stalkers such as Jason Isaac Fields and Tracy Banks. They're doing so, and they're still doing so, and that's what's relevant to federal prison for gang stalkers such as El Martinez, such as C. Torres, such as Nathan Morgan, and such as B. Hook. And I'm documenting the entity that is gang stalking police officers that are engaged in the pattern of conduct or a threat to my life. The entity has essentially put out a contract on my life, and gang stalking me through the police is that which is done in reasonable furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And those that I'm documenting gang stalking are subject to federal prison for it. It is currently, again, 10:07 a.m. This is P.O.C. All right, as you have listened to, I am at Starbucks. It's a third-party facilitating venue. It's not a legitimate, upright business. It's a gang stalker. It's a sex offender also, as companies are to be prosecuted, capable of being prosecuted as domestic terrorists. And third-party Elena, she is the lead. And I put that in the lead. She's a lead with regard to the gang stalkers at Starbucks who are stalking in the path. As you'll see, this demon with, this is a male with long brunette hair. He's stalking in the path, and his focus is actually me. And your ability to know that, as opposed to what you would reasonably think his focus is perhaps his coworker who he's looking at, he's speaking to, he's smiling, looks engaged. But the fake sun is over the Starbucks. And positioning is how the demons are engaging what is stalking you and communicating a threat also when they're focused on something, for example, triggered by whatever it is that I might be talking about, whatever I'm documenting. They engage in passive-aggressive threatening, passive-aggressive stalking, passive-aggressive harassment. It's psychopathic behavior. It's absolutely deranged, it's demented, and it's unhinged. And the demon-possessed are psychopaths that target you with their back to you. They target you while they look to the left and right. They target you while all of the environment is telling you that they are stalking and that they are engaged in what is seeking to psychologically harm you. In other words, They are that want a knife to float in the air and cut your throat. They don't want you to see them holding that knife, cutting your throat. Okay, so that's the idea behind gang stalking. The demon-possessed male that you see standing in alignment at around 12:06 p.m. He's standing in front of the register, and he is stalking in the path. He's doing so while his focus is me, and his focus is deduced from the fact of the supernatural pattern of conduct that he is engaging in by standing in the path, which is legally significant, and it's also a criminal offense. He's gang stalking while on the job with the Ontario Police Department, who arrived inside of the venue while he and the entity Starbucks is threatening my life and my safety and my liberty. And that's because not only are they gang stalking me together with the government, but the Ontario Police Department engaged in kidnapping on May 29, 2025 is still continuously gang stalking me as I'm documenting in order to establish that for federal prison of those kidnappers on May 29th, and are demonstrating the fact that they will continuously engage in stalking with impunity and malice in furtherance of murder and kidnapping. And that's also relevant to this demon that's inside of Starbucks, who was threatening right now while I'm documenting the demons who are stalking. The fake sun is over Starbucks, which is how you know that this employee is a passive aggressive, mentally deranged psychopath and a sex offender. While the fake sun is over the venue, he is focused on me while he's stalking in the path, while Engineer Light is swimming across the wall inside of this Starbucks, where there's no lights that are no disco lights in here. There's nobody that's aiming a cell phone with light that's creating light on the wall. There is no vehicles that are parked on the sidewalk putting their hazards on and their blinkers and some sort of light mechanism that's going to create that sort of light activity at a distance inside of the building through the glass. The entity is engaging in what is stalking, and this demon that's employed by Starbucks, meaning Starbucks is gang stalking me, is doing so through its demon-possessed employees. And that's an act of terrorism that they're also engaging in while I happen to be on the internet at the same time, publishing evidence of Starbucks gang stalking me by virtue of the people of the state in this venue, purchasing items from Starbucks while they're gang stalking, which these demons that work at Starbucks are very hostile to. This is the spirit of Satan that works at Starbucks, okay? The entity is engaging in this pattern of conduct while they're stalking in the bathroom, and the entity is filling the venue where I'm sitting, surrounding me with amplified audible activity, surrounding me with sensational activity, the pleather seats as though somebody is kicking it, the walls as though somebody are beating the walls around me, as though these demons that you see wearing barista aprons and smiling like they're having a Tourette fit on the opposite side of the wall. That's the audible activity of the demon possessed who are harassing me, keeping their eyes away from me, their focal point on something else, while all of the environment is proving that Starbucks and the demons inside of them are stalking. I'm giving a narration with regard to the prosecution of the people of the state that are gang stalking with the Ontario police, who also arrived inside of the venue, just like they did with the kidnapper C. Torres under the 2:47 p.m. fake sun, where the entity has the fake sun, as I documented on video today, at 9:51 a.m., which is again capturing the pattern of conduct in just those two videos. But nonetheless, the people of the state are with impunity, with a very short memory, engaging in what is gang stalking in plain view in a supernatural environment, including while they arrive at work and at the crime scene, where they're engaging in criminal surveillance with the Ontario Police Department, who are pacing, communicating a threat in real time while I'm documenting, and doing so with knowledge, in the same way that this demon is stalking in the path inside of the cafe in the specific environment, threatening and harassing me while I'm being accosted with impossible light, harassed with impossible light, harassed with sensational and amplified audible activity, while a bunch of psychopaths are acting like they're not engaging in gang stalking, like they're not engaged in absolutely deranged behavior while they're targeting one person together, which is the behavior of the living dead. Okay, they're all under a fake sun that is not over the OVITT Family Community Library like it was yesterday, as I captured it standing at the staircase, even on the first floor, going down on the elevator to capture that square of light that was on the bottom level of the OVITT Family Community Library, while the entity has not moved this necessarily fake sun. This is where the employees inside of the venue, Elena, and you've already witnessed Raquel showing her mental illness, stalking me with the people of the state, harassing me with impossible light activity, and then doing more of it by standing in my presence, in my face, with a communication device after 4 p.m., where I'm showing you the fake sun this morning at 9:51 a.m., You don't forget the documentation. The entity is always focusing on what's happening only right now, and you are not conducting any investigation. You're not engaging in any observations in a vacuum like that, nor are you with regard to this prosecution and documenting the demon-possessed engaged in the satanic targeting system of gang stalking. The entity is engaging when placing the fake sun moments after I captured the 8:55 a.m. gang stalking by the Ontario police, covering up the fake sun. And then the moments after I captured that video, the fake sun that was there the whole time and that I've already captured here before, well before 8:55 a.m., begins shining, okay? And that is, again, the entity that is stalking by an establishment, stalking by the population, and stalking with the government. And doing so as a very well-documented pattern of conduct. This Starbucks employee is a kidnapper. This is the same entity that engaged in kidnapping together in the same way that they're gang stalking me wherever I go, whether that's the OVITT Family Community Library, whether that's the Ontario Museum of History and Arts, whether that's an apartment complex at Woodside Senior Apartments, whether it's my own home at Alvarado Gardens, whether it's Starbucks, any Starbucks in Ontario. You pick one because I've documented them. Gang stalking. Okay, the entity is engaging in this with the City of Ontario that's engaging in that pattern of conduct in the specific environment, which includes engineered light, both day and night. And the entity is engaging in what is terrorism and psychological torture that Starbucks is engaging in, and that is exposing Starbucks to civil and criminal prosecution. Starbucks is the entity that committed kidnapping and is still engaging in domestic terrorism with impunity, engaging in sexual violence with impunity, harassment, and terrorism with impunity, with the government that's inside of its buildings, flying over its buildings, surrounding me while I'm inside of this building, and Starbucks is engaging in that pattern of conduct. So Starbucks is not innocent while the government engages in it. Starbucks is holding hands with the government, sharing in that. Okay, and doing it with impunity. That's what's relevant with regard to what you're noticing about placement in the path inside of the Starbucks, while the seats are rumbling and vibrating and like they're kicking them at the same time that I'm publishing video about the pattern of conduct underway inside of this Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue in Ontario, California, 91762, by the way. The entity is doing so. These are the passive-aggressive psychopaths and violent sex offenders obsessed with my vagina, but keeping their back to me when they're stalking me. And the unmistakable scientific fact of them stalking is the fake sun over their venue and the impossible light flying in their venue, which are also established facts that are on video for everyone to witness, and no one can reasonably disregard. Only the demons say that it doesn't mean anything, but nobody cares about what the demons are saying. They're the ones that are going to mental asylums and federal prison. And that includes Jason Isaac Fields, that includes Tracy Banks, that includes the demons that are gang stalking, whose name I know, the demons that are gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments. This is the pattern of conduct that they were engaging in when they committed kidnapping in an environment that is irreconcilable. I have the fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments every single hour of the day, from sunrise until sunset. And the entity has the fake sun over me at 9 o'clock in the morning at the OVITT Family Community Library yesterday, June 12, 2025. The entity has the fake sun over me today, a grand departure from being over the side of the OVITT Family Community Library and being over the roof of the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library and being over the window above the elevator, the staircase of the OVITT Family Community Library, and that remaining until after 2 p.m. And that's not even including the documentation that I have years before yesterday with regard to gang stalking in Ontario, including at Starbucks and the OVITT Family Community Library, where I'm documenting from morning until evening, like I've captured at this venue in 2025, of the fake sun being here. All right. So I want to document this method of harassment, and they're doing so obsessively. The entire workforce, the lead is engaging in that. These Starbucks leads they're leading in domestic terrorism. They're leading in sexual violence. They're leading in federal harassment. They're leading in what is psychological torture that the government's engaging in. That's an unprecedented basis of recovery, and I will recover from Starbucks. It's a third party. It's the people of the state. And they're sharing in the conspiracy to murder and kidnap someone, and they're doing it under the guise of selling coffee. All right, they are raging psychopaths in doing it. The entity is exposing mental illness. You are not separating in your mind the entity that is gang stalking me, flying in circles over me by helicopter, because it's also happened here at the Starbucks. But this is the same demon possession. It's the same criminal system. All right, the entity is sharing in that pattern of conduct. So I want to document that. Elena is the Caucasian female that is gang stalking, and I've documented her license plate. I come here at 4 or 5 in the morning, and I've documented her license plate already. I also documented her being a sex offender, gang stalking me in the bathroom, monitoring my vagina, keeping me under surveillance, and doing so with the people of the state, facilitating sexual violence, and doing so with impunity, becoming more violent with the audible activity, more threatening with the light activity, more psychopathic with the gang stalking police officers that are pacing around me while I'm inside of this cafe, because I'm documenting and publishing it on the venue of the internet. The people of the state go to federal prison for this. I'm documenting it. You have demons that are trying to engage in some sort of illusion of trying to rehabilitate the appearance of the Ontario Police Department. So you have Corey Watson coming in with shorts on and no uniform, no weapons on his person, at least that you can see. And then you have what is the demon that's coming in the Ontario Police Department with the fake sun covered up this morning, standing in the corner waiting for a drink while he's in uniform bearing weapons in operation of a communication device. You have what is C. Torres sitting down on a bench coming in under the 2:47 p.m. fake sun, not addressing me, and still engaged in the elements of monitoring, which all of them are. There is no rehabilitating the reputation or the criminal conduct of a police department that is threatening your life and safety. Period. That does not change. Neither can the stalker unilaterally change what their impression is and what their conduct and how they are affecting the one whom they are targeting. There is no mistaking the department's gang stalking using helicopter all night long. That was less than 12 hours ago. And the entity is walking into the cafe like the department isn't documented for years, by the way, but even less than 24 hours ago, gang stalked me, following me around in helicopters. There is no aspect of the city of Ontario and the Ontario Police Department that are not engaged in criminal summoning, and covering up the fake sun is already a well-established pattern, part of the pattern of conduct. It doesn't erase the evidence, speaking to a sunrise and a sunset, speaking to a fake sun 12 hours over the venue, speaking to what is light flying inside, which has nothing even to do with the sun, fake sun, or natural environment. Regardless, that is clear engagement in what is the supernatural pattern of conduct. And walking in and not saying anything to me while the fake sun is covered up, meaning it's cloudy outside, and where engineer light still remains, and where you still committed a kidnapping, where this department has committed a series of kidnappings, where this department is following me day and night by helicopters and by demons that are driving Ontario Police Department vehicles everywhere that I'm going, and they're gang stalking, engaging in psychological torture. There's no rehabilitating the reputation, the appearance, or the elements of monitoring that remain underway when they walk into Starbucks, gang stalking right in your face, like psychopaths. This is what's wrong with the government, and this is exactly what is necessitating federal prison as a response for domestic terrorism. The absence of any tolerance for what is that boldness with regard to public corruption. The government is not going to stand in the face of an American citizen and threaten them, which is exactly what you're doing when you're in their presence, conducting yourself like you are on the right side of the law, like you have every right to do what you're doing, and you don't. And they're engaging in what is unprecedented criminal conduct, and that's why it's not highlighted and obvious and spoken about. The entities engaging in what is an unspoken system. That doesn't make it lawful whatsoever. It's speaking to what is egregious. It's speaking to what is unprecedented. And the government is threatening your life in a manner that is not going to be tolerated under federal law, in ways that is literally delusional, that the entity will unilaterally rehabilitate its appearance, its engagement in the elements of monitoring. It's going to appear less threatening because the fake sun is covered up, or because they're not saying anything, or it's a different officer with the same corrupt gang stalking department. This is preposterous. The entire city of Ontario is gang stalking. The entire department is gang stalking. The entity is gang stalking through a police department, which is inherently threatening, period. The entity is always forgetting the malice with which it's targeting the American citizen, and then uses the same false logic whereby it thought that it was going to be impervious to ever being caught. Well, that same logic applies with regard to your malice. If you can't be found to be engaged in what is stalking as a stranger, which is the false premise of the entity thinking it can never be prosecuted or found out for gang stalking because it's through strangers, and it's through the environment. So if that's the case, then why are you associating a specific identity with threats? It's based on what is the pattern of conduct, the specific environment. So it doesn't matter what face it is. It doesn't matter what the name is. You're looking at what is representing the government in that specific environment. You're gang stalking. You're engaging in the elements of monitoring. And it doesn't change based on what your name is, or who you think you are, or how unsuspicious you think that you are. The entity is, again, not prepared for that prosecution, which is a formula for prosecuting the level of malice, this satanic level of malice, where the entity sought to be above suspicion that no one would ever be able to identify, let alone articulate, even fathom what the entity, what the demons are doing and how they're doing it, okay? And it is pursuant to what is monitoring as a whole population. The demons walk into this cafe, the same cafe where I'm showing you engineer light dancing all over the walls, and then you're gonna walk in on another day like that didn't happen. First of all, you're delusional. Second of all, that's not how the prosecution for gang stalking goes. Okay, but I just want to point those things out to you because the entity is doing so while mindful and aware of the fact that I'm maintaining a playlist, and I've been maintaining playlists for years, by the way, but mindful of the fact that I'm maintaining a playlist with regard to the ongoing stalking by the Ontario Police, in particular that committed kidnapping from Tracy Banks's facilitating venue. Since being released from kidnapping. Corey Watson coming in here is ongoing added documentation regarding the ongoing impunity and malice and the obsession of the Ontario Police that are lawless with regard to their gang stalking conduct. That's what Corey Watson's presence in my face at this venue with the people of the state, following a kidnapping that he committed as well in 2022. That's what that demonstrates. And it's the same analysis with C. Torres under the fake sun at 2:47 p.m. And then you remember what I'm showing you video of today at 9:51 in the morning. 10, 11, 12, 1, 5 hours later, the fake sun is still here. But I remember what I showed you yesterday when I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library at the entrance. And at the 2 p.m. hour, the fake sun is not over Starbucks at 507 North Euclid Avenue, nor would the sun be idle over one building like I'm documenting for the duration of the day. That's essentially the duration of the day. How is the sun ever in Florida if it's sitting over Starbucks for 6 hours? That's the pattern of conduct. But when you're paying attention to the documentation, these demons are thinking you're going to forget that, and you just walk in the next day, cover up the fake sun in the morning, and you never saw any helicopter activity over the target individual's head. You never saw any dancing light like a tornado while they're engaged in what is hostility and the maniacal conduct, their inability to control themselves, and then the next day want to act like nothing happened and walk in like there's no federal consequences for it. Those delusional psychopaths are the ones that belong in mental asylums and in federal prison, and that's where they're going. That is where they're going. Raquel and Elena are the demon-possessed leads, gang stalking, leading in terrorism inside of the Starbucks, meaning they're engaging in the pattern of conduct, and as they set that terrorizing and criminal example, the employees are engaging in it as well, okay? So that's relevant to prosecuting the corrupt business of Starbucks. Gang stalking is built into its profits. It's built into the way this establishment is ran. And that's a matter of public corruption, which is exposing it to exposing it to a civil prosecution that is designed to punish Starbucks. So the entity's engaging in it's 12:23 p.m. The fake sun remains over the same entrance that it was at 9:51 in the morning, and that's the same entrance that it was at 7:54 in the morning, as I documented just the other day, where the Ontario Fire Department were engaged in criminal summoning. And this is how you tie together the facts of an entity that's malicious, that's engaging in what is thinking that they can piecemeal the information, thinking that they can rebut evidence that I put out. No, you're not. It's impossible. It's impossible. The entity can do it. It's evidence of gang stalking. And not only that, this is when you're understanding what is the underlying premise. The underlying premise is that the government's engaged in criminal surveillance that there is no constitutional authority for. And with that, the legal analysis is as following. Starbucks doesn't have a right to be in the building, Starbucks employees. The establishment, as you're going to prosecute the system of gang stalking, that means the business itself, Starbucks, has no constitutional protection to be engaged in maintaining this establishment in relevant positions so that the government can keep me under surveillance. And they are engaged in the elements of monitoring, so that's where the people of the state become criminally liable as well. You're not coincidentally in an environment and ignorant about the impossible light when you're pasting all in it, and you're engaged in what is stalking with amplified noise at the same time that it occurs, when you're engaged in what is harassing me under that fake sun that remains over your venue all day long, and you engage in behavior that enables me to be more accosted with light and harassed with they're engaging in that conduct together. That's why the people of the state are criminally liable as well. And they don't even have a right to be at work. This is shattering the entire malicious system. When you get to that, this is why they don't understand walking in the next day under a covered up fake sun, under subdued engineered light, with the people of the state that are still engaging in criminal conduct, and that level of malice that you would still engage in it, thinking that it's covered up and no one's going to see it so that you would look like you're not targeting anymore. That's exactly why you belong in federal prison. That's exactly why. All right, it is currently 12:25 p.m. This is documentation of the entity targeting me at Starbucks. And I just wanted to give you that example of harassment. These are psychopaths stalking me with amplified audible activity, sensational activity, pacing like psychopaths inside of the venue, including to the bathroom, not to relieve themselves. They may be relieving themselves. I don't care about that. They're monitoring while they're crossing paths. That's what supersedes whether somebody has diarrhea or not. You know what's superseding? The fact that it's facilitating gang stalking, which is what you're doing, regardless of the status of your bowels, because the fake sun is what you're walking under, the engineered light is what you're crossing path in, the amplified audible activity is what you are present around me that is while it's underway, and you're gang stalking while you're pacing like a psychopath in and out of the bathroom with a whole bunch of strangers that seemingly don't have to make a purchase to gang stalk me in Starbucks' bathroom. Okay, the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. with impunity and malice, and it's all relevant to a civil and a criminal prosecution. At 12:26 p.m., there's no sun remaining over the OVITT Family Community Library, but you already know that. There's documentation about Starbucks and the OVITT Family Community Library, the entire city of Ontario, where at the same time of year, Los Angeles, at Alvarado Gardens, the entity, LAPD, is literally gang stalking me under a fake sun. that's nowhere near Ontario. So this is, again, big picture, and you can even get into a micro analysis. There is no getting out of the pattern of conduct. I have literally expounded upon every detail about how the demon possessed are monitoring, what monitoring is, and how they engage in it, and what they are. They want you to think about what they're doing. Okay, so it's many ways psychological torture, and it's many ways a deception, and that's based on their condition. They're the demon possessed, and that's based on who Satan is. Satan is the father of lies. He's a liar, and you're dealing with illusions, and I'm breaking all those illusions down for you. They're also very delusional because they don't understand how the federal prosecution of the government for gang stalking, it's impenetrable. It's impenetrable. I didn't present this evidence because there's some loopholes there. There's some weakness in the argument. There's some anomaly. There's some risk of variables. No, the prolonged years of documentation. The entity that is corrupt, every single city that I'm going to, the entity maintaining the specific environment, there is no room for any variables. There's no chance for some over categorization, for some misstep, for some miscalculation, for some assumption of something that's not true. That's not the case. The entity is engaging in exactly what it is that I'm stating, the elements of monitoring, and those are occurring in the specific environment, and it is requiring an environment that is supernatural in order for them to maintain presence as a population. Hundreds of people coming in and out of Starbucks all day long, the fake sun remains and the engineered light remains. And that's how they're stalking together. That's the one, that's Satan that is pacing through millions of bodies who are demon possessed. That's the system of gang stalking. And they all maintain that same personality, stalking me with activity, stalking me in the path with presence, stalking with light activity. Okay, and engaging in what are satanic means of harassment, keeping your back to me while I'm being molested, harassed, and terrorized with impossible light activity just flying in the air, because that psychopath, that passive-aggressive psychopath, that maniac is engaging in as satanic means of harassment. Those are these acts of witchcraft, this demonic conduct. It's tangible evidence, and I'm going to prosecute with it. I'm going to prosecute, I'm going to drain the pockets, I'm going to prosecute criminally, and you can get justice, and that's what you're going to witness. And this entity engaged in kidnapping, and so did Starbucks. That's why they're engaging in the pattern of conduct. You're not gang stalking me because you're distinct from that entity that's interested in kidnapping me and defaming me, and that's why they're still targeting. So you need to understand how disgusting of a corporation Starbucks is. And that's the reality. That's literally why they're gang stalking. That's why the specific environment is here. And they hire demons. So it is currently 12:29 p.m. Starbucks is at 507 North Euclid Avenue. The fake sun is remaining over it. And that's in clear contradiction with the environment that LAPD is under, while I'm documenting them gang stalking me, as a matter of fact, as well, in Los Angeles at Alvarado Gardens, where the sun was rising and setting over me, which is the pattern of conduct and not the natural environment. That is that P.O.C. That unmistakable P.O.C., that is that impenetrable P.O.C. There is no getting out of it because there is no other way for them to monitor, and there is no deviating from it. And once the pattern of conduct is established, you're not rehabilitating, unilaterally rehabilitating, you're still gang stalking. These demons are very highly unintelligent, imprudent, and they're also delusional, and you know that by their pattern of conduct. You know that by their criminal engagement in the P.O.C. It's 12:30 p.m. on June 13, 2025, P.O.C. All right, this is Raquel, right? Oh, okay. Do you know what is beating on the walls where I'm sitting?
There's nothing.
Sounds like there's knocking on the walls behind. It's even felt in the seat. Do you know what that could be? Were you back there digging something or something?
No, the sink is right there, so it can't really.
Yeah, I heard like metal ringing and like the wall. It's really disruptive because I'm wearing headphones. I'm trying to focus, and it's a lot of disruption.
Nothing I could do. It's our back stock area right there. There's nobody like banging or anything. It's just the sink area.
Kind of like the light, huh? You can't do anything about that either. That flies through and gets all over me.
Yeah, there's just this whole wall we don't have any like access to, so I'm not
right.
sure.
So you don't know where that noise would be coming from then, huh? Okay. So what about with the light that's flying in that gets all over me? Remember when I asked you to close the blinds?
You can close the blinds if you'd like. Yeah.
Okay. I don't know where that light comes from either. That's really weird as well. But it's getting in the way of my ability to focus in here, and I thought that Starbucks would be a place that's kind of quaint. You guys just make coffee. I don't think you guys are throwing around barbells or anything, right?
No. Yeah,
oh, okay.
Like I said,
yeah, it's really weird. It's the wall.
right there,
yeah, so you can see where they're sitting on the wall over there, where I'm sitting on the pleather seats. That's where it's vibration, like someone's kicking the wall.
Give me 1 second.
No problem. Yeah. Raquel is a psychopath.
Yeah, there's.
That
like
was
I said,
pacing.
There's nothing we have access to right there, so if it's making.
Hey Seth, how's it going?
There's nothing we can do, like
Uh-huh.
as far as like the sounds that it's making. For as far as the light, I can close the blinds for you, but that's about it. Yeah.
Okay. I just wanted to ask, you're the lead, right?
I'm the manager. Well,
Oh, you're the manager. Oh, that's even better. And who's the lead? Elena?
there's quite a few leads here.
The other one, her name is Elena, isn't she?
Yeah.
Okay, that's what I want. Okay, thank you. I just wanted to know that. Have a good one. Excuse me. Yeah, Raquel is she's a psychopath. She's engaging in what is stalking me with impossible light. And as I documented her, she engaged in, on video, you'll see her. She began standing in front of the window where the entity is engaging what is stalking with impossible light. If you don't mind, I'm actually going to go ahead and leave, but thank you. Maybe next time I'm here, I can remind you. She's monitoring even in doing that, but she is the one that's on video holding her communication device, and she stands in front of the window where the impossible light is, again, and I put that in air quotes as in coming through. This is supernatural. This is demonic. Okay, so I'm showing you what it is that you're looking at, and then I'm breaking down what the illusion that you're being presented with. The sun that's sitting over the building all day long is not the natural environment, obviously. And when you're driving on the street underneath the sun, regardless of, take out the description of the fake sun idol and all that, under the sun, your vehicle is not shooting light horizontally. The impossible light flies through the air, and that is simultaneous with the vehicles driving north on Euclid Avenue. This is what's happening at the OVITT Family Community Library. They're driving on at the C Street turn circle, standing at the entrance, engineered light flying across the wall at the same time that the vehicles are moving. That's not sunlight that's ricocheting off of their cars. That's supernatural, and it's demonic. And it's the evidence of stalking. Raquel is a psychopath. While I want you to hear her voice, I want you to hear her speak up. Well, I have no, I don't know. I have no idea. Understand the purpose of gang stalking in the first place, which is also why I'm documenting. The entity is going to be subject to what are diagnoses for actual mental illness when the entity engages in what is targeting in satanic methods that are supposed to be beyond what the ordinary target individual could prove or even allege. You're supposed to sound like you're imagining things or suffering from some mental incapacity when you are making some sort of complaint about something happening. But the entity, I'm being very descriptive, and the entity is engaged in monitoring their demons. And there is no explanation that she could give with regard to the sound of the noise that would create the vibrating or kicking in the seats. This is how the demons that are hostile to my documenting Starbucks engage in what is harassment, where you don't see them engaging in anything conduct. You don't see them engaging in it. It's the same thing with the light activity. You don't see them standing there with the light gun. You don't see them like saying, Erica, I'm going to shoot you with light now. You see them looking to the left and the right like it's not happening. They're the demons who are targeting with light. They're the demons who are targeting with activity. And Raquel's presence, period, is enough to prosecute her. She's also gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department. That's federal prison. Her psychopathic engagement in the elements of monitoring and psychological torture is enough also for her mindset to be at the forefront of her prosecution as an individual acting with an entity regarding her psychopathic, her antisocial tendencies as it's exhibited while she's stalking me with light and stalking me with sensational activity creation while I'm in the establishment, and while she is simultaneously exhibiting malice, gang stalking while on the job. That's presenting evidence about her mental illness, okay, as she's exhibiting that. Now, this is relevant to being prosecuted for a gang stalker. You need to understand the gang stalking conduct in and of itself. The pattern of conduct is demonstrating mental illness. The entity that's stalking with amplified audible activity, for example, inside of the apartment at Woodside Senior Apartments, those old people are not causing the ceiling and the walls to crack. All right, so in the same way, while Raquel and Seth and all of the demons of Starbucks are pacing in and out of that doorway on the side, amplified audible activity, these are demons, and that's a demonic noise method creation, and it's targeting me, and that's also built into the pattern of conduct. So the entity is totally felt. They're not causing me to look like I'm making up anything or I'm suffering from some hallucination. That's the whole point of targeting through satanic methods, and it's psychological torture and terrorism. That's how Starbucks and Starbucks employees are going to be prosecuted. They're playing a very dangerous game, and that's what she's doing right now when the entity is engaging in what is documented psychological torture. You've seen the various videos of impossible light activity inside of this venue. I don't have to make up anything about the entity stalking by helicopter with Raquel, with Seth, while they're monitoring my vagina in the bathroom, and they're engaging in gang stalking with the impossible light activity and the impossible activity created through the seats coming through the wall, because these unhinged psychopaths are very hostile. The demons in them are manifesting while I'm documenting them. okay? That violence is exhibited through amplified audible activity. That violence is exhibited through impossible light activity. That violence is exhibited when the police are gang stalking, sharing in the elements in real time, all right? They're stalking by pacing inside of the cafe, and the demons of the Ontario police are crossing paths in vehicles and helicopters. That's how they share in psychological torture. You're going to federal prison for that. That's the formula for it. That's what Raquel is engaging in. While you hear her perplexed tone of voice, oh, I don't know, I have no idea. You're absolutely right, she doesn't know. They're demons. And they're pacing in and out with malice. And they're doing it under the name of what is Starbucks. And Seth can go to federal prison. Raquel can go to federal prison. Elena can go to federal prison because I have the evidence to put them there. Gang stalking with the police is the intolerable level of domestic terrorism. With regard to being here on a repeated basis, that's a basis of federal prison, domestic terrorism. This is no small thing. They're engaged in terrorism. Not only that, they're engaging in it with impunity and malice. The more that I document, the more violent Starbucks and Starbucks employees become. All right, so the entity is engaging in this, and this is, I want to be clear, Starbucks' liability is based purely on this demon that you hired, Raquel and Seth and the rest of these demons. Your liability is based on your hiring the demon possessed, and they're not able to handle being exposed and being documented. All right, the entity is engaging in what is exposing Starbucks, the company, the corporation, and that's nationwide because Starbucks is all over the country as they're exposed as engaging in domestic terrorism with the U.S. government. And the fake sun that's over me is speaking to what every Starbucks is doing in the country and how Starbucks treats American citizens who enforces their rights. And Starbucks' posture toward those who enforce their rights and call out what is corruption, call out sexual violence, call out harassment by those that want to make a buck off of American citizens that they're terrorizing, that they're gang stalking. And doing it in the most sick manner while you're making coffee. Like, this is, again, the entity that, these are the demons that are engaging in what is the pattern of conduct by working at Starbucks. So again, her name is Raquel. She's on video gang stalking in Impossible Light and Under the Fake Sun and with the Ontario Police Department. And doing so while I'm listening, literally while I'm documenting her and speaking with her, she's engaged in criminal activity. So this is the entity that is always, again, always harming itself. Engaging what is stalking in helicopter repeatedly night after night is harmful to the entity, harmful to that police department, harmful to those demons who are going to prison for kidnapping on May 29, 2025. The demons that are harassing me inside of Starbucks, it's harmful to them. It's harmful to the corporation. It's harmful to the people of the state that are gang stalking in the venue. It's harmful to the city of Ontario, including those kidnappers that committed that act on May 29, 2025. The entity is always harming itself with the inability to control itself. This is understanding the mental illness borne by those that are demon possessed. They are severely psychopathic. They lack self-control. They make very poor decisions with regard to the information that you have available, with regard to the consequences that if you can even imagine, but they are, again, not capable of even comprehending the level of severity with regard to being prosecuted and exposed for gang stalking as a company and as individuals that work for the company and as the people of the state, period, with regard to the level of criminal conduct that the government has engaged in and engaged in through them, with them. All right, it is currently 12:43 p.m. The entity is incriminating its own customers. The entity is incriminating the government. The entity is incriminating the corporation. I have a pattern of conduct by Starbucks, the corporation, in multiple cities, and a pattern of conduct by Starbucks here at 507 North Euclid Avenue, a pattern of harassment, a pattern of sexual violence, a pattern of psychological torture, and a pattern of what is terrorism. While they're engaged in the pattern of conduct and they're harassing me as psychopaths that are hostile to being exposed as criminals, as predators, as demons. And one of their names, her name is Raquel. So you just heard a psychopath. You just heard a psychopath right now. All right, it is currently 12:44 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, you see the fake sun move as I move. Raquel is targeting, and so is the Ontario Police and helicopter right now. Oh, no, that's amplified plane, 8RWX588. She goes to Glorias Cochinas on her communication device while the fake sun is over my head and Ontario Police is crossing path. This is what Raquel's doing inside of Starbucks. License 95282M3, and you'll see the fake sun over my head at 12:50 p.m. The Ontario Police is gang stalking while L. Rodriguez is inside of the inside of the Starbucks this morning as well. The entity is always exposing itself and engaging what is gang stalking. For me to document it is putting the demons of the Ontario Police in federal prison, because that's what the entire department is doing. It's gang stalking, and they're gang stalking together. And Raquel is gang stalking with the Ontario Police, while that psychopath under the fake sun is stalking with amplified audible activity 9NEN221. And then, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's the same thing with the impossible light activity, isn't it? Satan. She's a demon and she's targeting with the city of Ontario. The Ontario Police Department is gang stalking with UPS under the fake sun, who's creating light activity. UPS is the form of light activity right now. Let me get this on video. This is the P.O.C. 40757X2. UPS is gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, badge 20521, bearing weapons, stalking in the path, fake sun over my head. That's how you know that they're stalking. And I'm walking from Starbucks where the entity's keeping the fake sun, right? And as the fake sun moves, you're looking at what is stalking in the path. Title 18 by UPS, you know they're gang stalkers with the police, i.e. LAPD, and the Ontario Police Department. That passive-aggressive stalking, they're targeting you, don't look at you, don't address you, that's the psychopath. And this is Ontario PD. Gang stalking with people like Raquel inside of Starbucks. 1118, Ontario Police. Vehicle number 1697635. That's the fake sun here over my head while it is engaging what is stalking in the path with the commercial actors, the people of the state. While I'm walking down the street, they're maintaining light activity. This is demonic. This is public corruption, and these are the businesses: Starbucks, UPS, Avanath Capital Management, speaker companies, gang stalking, bearing weapons. Ontario police are going to federal prison. They're gang stalking with their helicopters day and night, and gang stalking with using their vehicles. And these are psychopaths in training so that they could be demons on the league as well. Training with the demon. Okay, stalking you and not addressing you. Neither do they have to. But I'm going to address them in federal court. They're going to federal prison. Title 18, communication device. This is P.O.C. And I want you to see the fake sun right here, because that's where you're identifying targeting. This is the open demonstration of demon possession. Light activity, monitoring. Walking right inside, saying hi, that's a psychopath, bearing weapons, gang stalking, monitoring my vagina in the bathroom as well. Obsessively monitoring sex offenders that are stalking as a whole police department. Okay, that I want you to be clear. El Martinez is going to federal prison. You have what is C. Torres going to federal prison. Nathan Morgan's going to federal prison. And the entity that is gang stalking with not El Martinez, but B. Hook, engaging in the P.O.C. It's currently 12:53, as you can see on the clock right here. UPS is providing light activity in the path while I'm walking from one venue to the next, which the entity is obsessively stalking through the police. This is the city of Ontario stalking with helicopters, stalking with the planes, and stalking in concert with the people, monitoring me inside of Starbucks. And then as I go from Starbucks to the OVITT Family Community Library, where today it's remaining over the entrance, and passive-aggressive psychopaths that don't have any response, and they're not supposed to be stalking you. They don't address you, especially when you capture them in the evidence showing that they're demons and that they're gang stalking. So he goes from conversing with UPS to going inside of the bank, disregarding what he's going to just write off as you can write off whatever you want. You cannot deny the evidence. This is the specific environment where the Ontario police is gang stalking as a whole corrupt department. Mike LORENZ is gang stalking while the fake sun is remaining over Woodside Senior Apartments, and the entity is maintaining helicopter over me. The fake sun is remaining every hour of the day over Woodside Senior Apartments, over Tracy Banks's apartment, where the Ontario police are gang stalking. And this is what they were doing in their vehicles, remaining around the perimeter of Woodside while I remain in Tracy's apartment, and stalking by helicopter, which I diligently documented as well. All right, the entity is inside. He's inside of the bank. He represents the state that's stalking by plane and helicopter. This is P.O.C. UPS is gang stalking with LAPD as well, sharing in the pattern of conduct under the fake sun. UPS is gang stalking on May 29, 2025. The entity that engaged in kidnapping on May 29th, UPS is gang stalking under the fake sun, but you'll see, not over Starbucks. It's not over Family Community Library. The entity is maintaining that fake sun over Woodside Senior Apartments over my head, where UPS is gang stalking, just like you see in this video, where the fake sun moves as I move. And this is where the Ontario Police Department is stalking me, and I just captured video of them gang stalking and the demon possessed engaging with going on about their business, monitoring, because they don't have to talk to you. And there is no logical response, no sound response for demons that are caught engaging in the supernatural pattern of conduct. That's P.O.C. Ontario Police is being disbanded. This is gang stalking that they were engaged in when they committed kidnapping, and this is stalking by the police, and they're going to federal prison. P.O.C. All right, you will see Ontario Police Department gang stalking, and that's what they were doing when I'm referring to Raquel's mental illness inside of Starbucks. The Ontario Police are gang stalking through Starbucks, and Starbucks represents the people of the state that are in there engaging in the elements of monitoring. Under the guise of gathering together to buy coffee, share coffee, converse over coffee. They're engaging in the elements of monitoring under the fake sun, which stays over that cafe until I move away. As I document that, the entity starts stalking with amplified audible activity, which is where I document license plates of the people of the state that are simultaneously crossing path while a gang of demons, including the Ontario Police, are stalking in the path. Remember, engineer light light activity creation of flashing of light, that's demonic. As I've shown you the signature work of Satan, who is monitoring through people, the demon possessed. The demon possessed work for the Ontario Police Department, as they call themselves, and they're going to be disbanded for kidnapping, as I've exposed them as engaging in criminal surveillance which is satanic, and that which they're doing in concert with the civilian population, the demons, in other words, the people of the state that drive by and engineer light flies all over the place. Those are the people that the Ontario police are talking to while they're wearing UPS uniforms, gang stalking with the police. So that's what I captured on video. You see that fake sun? That's the evidence, which is embodied in a whole playlist of firefighters, ambulance drivers, and police officers stalking. As you see that ongoing formula of the specific environment and stalking in the path, gang stalking by the entity. That's what you'll see on video. That's what I just captured, and that's what you just listened to right now. And as I'm going to the OVITT Family Community Library, the entity kept the fake sun over the OVITT Family Community Library yesterday when I arrived here well before 12 o'clock. The entity is keeping the fake sun yesterday over this venue where the Ontario Police is gang stalking in the path, where that specific environment follows me and shows you who are the demons who are targeting gang stalking. And you're committing kidnapping when you're engaging in what is gang stalking as a police department. And his partners are going to federal prison for the evidence that he just provided to me against the state of California for engaging in federal group stalking and monitoring, which is identified in the specific environment, an irreconcilable and insurmountable body of evidence showing how the demon-possessed are practicing a supernatural pattern of conduct where I am shown to be the person who is indeed targeted. And this is why the Ontario Police, the demons, are waging allegations that are false so that they can engage in things such as kidnapping. They don't even have authority under the law because they're engaging in what is criminal surveillance. As I'm also documenting, they're stalking me day and night. This Ontario Police Department, this demon that's acting like a legitimate officer, he can't even say anything other than wave hi because he's caught red-handed. This is P.O.C. There's nothing legitimate about the Ontario Police. There's no explanation for following me around everywhere in helicopters. There's nothing that you're going to say. All right, then there's nothing other than lies coming out of the mouth of a demon under the fake sun, by the way. It's P.O.C. It's currently 12:58 p.m. while the fake sun is not over the OVITT Family Community Library. It's over me as I approach the library, which is an impossibility with regard to how the natural environment behaves. And by the way, while the Ontario Police are under the fake sun with the corrupt company UPS, the entity is maintaining the fake sun over me in Los Angeles, where LAPD is sharing the pattern of conduct with the Ontario PD. It is the prosecution of the entire entity, and L. Martinez, B. Hook, Nathan Morgan, and C. Torres are going to federal prison for kidnapping. This is P.O.C. Never forget the big picture. I've documented the sunrise at the OVITT Family Community Library while the fake sun remains over me as I approach this venue, impossible in the natural environment. And I also documented the fake sun at 6:10 p.m. at this same venue on June 6, 2025. Don't forget that while I'm documenting it right now as I approach this venue. Impossible is the specific environment. This is P.O.C. and they are gang stalking. It is on 12:59 p.m. with the fake sun over me as I arrive at the venue. The OVITT Family Community Library is gang stalking, and this is the city of Ontario as well that committed kidnapping, by the way. June 16, 2022, P.O.C. TCJ056. This is a demon stalking in the path. You can see at nighttime, this is when the demons are put in their proper context, what they're doing all day, even under the fake sun during the brightness of the day, is stalking, ominous stalking in the path. And it's put in its proper context when you see this demon stalking in the alley in order to molest with light. This is relevant with regard to not just presence in the path. That's not based on, oh, well, their car is parked in the alley. No, they're stalking in the path. I have multiple shadows they're monitoring. This is the demon that's stalking in the path. That's, again, at 4:52 a.m. where someone is stalking in a dark alley in order to cross paths with me while they're en route to go somewhere else, living their lives, not bearing a proper label as a gang stalker, as a sex offender, as a demon. It's 4:52 a.m. This is P.O.C. It's 6:57 p.m. The entity, as I'm documenting in text and in images, is engaged in what is harassing with impossible light activity and with super loud amplified audible activity, which is designed to monitor under the 6:57 p.m. fake sun. So again, the crazy people who are demon possessed are engaged in terrorism, like
murderous children. I would say like children, but they're like children that are like serial killers that are seeking attention, and they are engaging what is essentially slinging light like you see inside of Starbucks. I'm seated on the side of the library. So impossible light, which is demonic. This is the entity going out of its way to harass and terrorize me while I'm sitting under a shaded hallway adjacent to the library, and also that loud playing activity, which there is absolutely no explanation for other than the entity is stalking, and the entity intends to harass and terrorize with amplified audible activity. That's 6:58 p.m. I'm also documenting, and since I'm recording now, I was going to do it all at once, but I'll just go ahead and do a summary. As of my exit of the library, capturing the fake sun at 6 p.m. at the same entrance it was at as I arrived this afternoon after 12 p.m. And you're always mindful of what I documented before, which was again at 9:18 a.m. I was at this library in the morning and the sun was over me at this library, but not when I go to Starbucks like I did this morning. And there's no sun over the library when I'm looking at it out of the window on Euclid Avenue facing Chevron, which is again, OVITT Family Community Library is not across the street. OVITT Family Community Library is what would be north of north of the Starbucks. So it's not even going to be seen out of the window. The sun is not going to be seen out of the window of Starbucks and in the natural environment. You're always comparing using the demons' illusions to prosecute them and recognize the malice where they are shown to be stalking as a community, a demon-possessed one, and not only demon-possessed but obsessed. So the entity is engaging in what is seeking attention from somebody that is prosecuting them and documenting their criminal conduct for which they're going to be responsible, accountable for, prosecuted for, and they are seeking out that attention. That's going to the mental health. Understand the mental health of the entity. This is psychopathic behavior. This is the conduct of those that are inclined to engage in physical harm, violence, sexual violence, any manner of inflicting harm to another person that the demon-possessed derive pleasure from, and are obsessed in doing so, and also do more of it when they don't get a reaction. This is entirely demonic, but this is what the people of the state are doing while they are engaged in what is presence in the path, while the fake suns over the library. The people of the state are out with their kids. You're looking at on the surface, they're with their kids. They're out on the swing set. They're talking and laughing and playing music and on skateboards, and these demons are pacing around me monitoring. While the Ontario International Airport is presenting evidence as to what the Ontario Police Department are doing. They're gang stalking, just like they were last night, just like they were the night before that, just like they are every day, and just like they were on May 29, 2025, when they committed kidnapping, for which you go to federal prison. And that amplified plane activity is under no circumstances heard from the airport, where planes are taking off appropriately, and where planes are taking off from the airport. There's no loud plane activity that I'm even hearing while I'm listening to content on my headphones. And the loud activity is based on the entity's specific purpose to harass me. So this is documentation of the entity that is gang stalking. And the entity is very hostile to me while stalking. So obsessed with me, follows me around, monitors my vagina, is obsessed with me, but also hates me. Understand that these are the demon possessed that are in a position, or not in a position, well, yes, they are in a position because they're stalking me, but they are of the condition where they are inclined to commit murder. That sort of sick mind is one that commits murder. That is an unlawful threat that the government, the city of Ontario, the entity that's gang stalking through the police, the entity that's gang stalking through all of the citizens, all the residents in the city, are posing together while they're gang stalking. That sort of animosity, and it is demonstrated through the impossible light activity. Through a supernatural means, you're harassing me and clearly targeting. You're so much targeting me that you're doing it in a supernatural way. That's more obvious than standing in front of me and using a stick to hit me. The entity is obviously and clearly and plainly stalking and targeting me specifically, as I documented, in that specific environment. And the entity is stalking just like the Ontario police are this afternoon, as I documented the 12 p.m. fake sun, and Ontario PD are gang stalking at that glorious Cochinas. And the U.S. bank, the fake sun, is still remaining over me as I exit the OVITT Family Community Library today at 6 p.m., where the entity is gang stalking, and that's exactly what the Ontario police are doing on video in the middle of
of the afternoon while the fake sun travels, remaining over me, showing who everyone is monitoring, who everyone is targeting, despite the psychopathic behavioral pattern to conduct themselves as though it's normal life. Everything is going, they're not even concerned or aware of the targeted individual. Those are the psychopaths that are gang stalking. And the fake sun directly rebuts that very sick and demented feature of the pattern of conduct because it's public corruption. So nonetheless, it is evidence of the Ontario Police gang stalking, as I'm documenting another gang stalking police officer, speaking to what the entire department is doing. They're doing it with the demon-possessed families in Ontario that are engaging in what is domestic terrorism, sexual violence, psychological torture together, training young children in the ways of Satan, in the ways of demented, dysfunctional, and harmful behavior patterns while they're gang stalking with their parents, their siblings, with their neighbors, with the government, the state, acting with minors. That's what you hear. They're an engineered light under the fake sun, and they're intentionally crossing paths with loud children, and they're monitoring. And they do the same thing when my vagina is exposed in the bathroom. These are sex offenders, and that's what gang stalking is. It is currently 7:04 p.m. As my exit of the library at 6 p.m., the entity begins amplifying plane activity as of 6:06 p.m. And remember, this is over the senior citizen complex. And this is with regard to the duration of time analysis. So we can, and that's what I did. I took screenshots. You'll see them uploaded to the Google Drive, which infuriates the demon-possessed psychopaths who are gang stalking. And you will see the fake sun at 9 in the morning. You'll see the fake sun at the same library at 6 o'clock in the evening. And that is a duration of time where plane activity is clearly shown to be exactly what it is, targeting by a demon-possessed gang stalker that has access to planes, which is going to be addressed at the federal prosecution of the state of California, which is putting domestic terrorism in the United States on the map. But nonetheless, it's audible activity when you're identifying that supernatural pattern of conduct. And I am with that duration of time, with that screenshot. The fake sun at 9 o'clock, at 10 o'clock in the morning over the entrance. I'm standing at the entrance and I'm capturing it at 6 p.m. That's where you're hearing children screaming in the background. They're monitoring with their parents who are intentionally using that as a means of audible activity creation. When you are crossing path, you are stalking. When you are creating activity, you are stalking and monitoring in that engineered light. And that's how a society is engaging in what is monitoring, that is targeting an American citizen, while engaging in what is obsessing over them with their light. These are the demon-possessed who are very mentally ill. This circus-like environment that even the city of Ontario, the government, these are supposed to be dignified individuals, professional individuals. They are bat poo crazy, just to put it in a nice, frank term. Very, very mentally disturbed. And the things that they do with the light is letting you know that. So the more impossible the light activity is, the more deranged the mind is. And that is an absolute truth for you to tuck away and be mindful of it. The more impossible the light activity is, the more deranged the mind is, okay? The more impossible the audible activity is, you hear it, with the amplified plane. There's no planes taking off here, and the amplified, it's turned up in volume. The more impossible, meaning the farther away the helicopter is and the louder it is around, the more impossible the audible activity, the more impossible the light activity, the more deranged the mind is, the more unhinged that vessel is, that demon-possessed person. That's a psychopath on your hands, okay? And the entity is gang stalking by a citywide full of people that are gang stalking, engaging in what is exposed as a very poor act. This is nothing normal about the city of Ontario. The city of Ontario is gang stalking, and so is the state of California. So you're looking at how public corruption is existing in plain sight. The corrupt businesses, the corrupt government, the corrupt people that are engaging in this criminal conduct together, and looking to the left and the right, keeping their back to you, while in every regard targeting you, and obsessively so. So you are learning a lot when you are looking at the engineered light inside of Starbucks and everybody's just looking down, focused like it's not happening. You're looking at psychopaths. All right. That's the entity that's stalking in the middle of the night with the Ontario police, that's flying in circles over my head. They're stalking me where the entirety of that entity is focused on me. Everything that I do and everything concerning me is public information, including my vagina, and everything that is concerning me. And that is inherent to the targeting system, where the demon-possessed, the corrupt government, the entity itself is choosing a person to target, and everything about that person's existence is known and it's unspoken of as well, but it's known, and they are obsessively targeting on a ceaseless basis together in the most passive aggressive manner. But you're looking at what is supposed to be passive aggressive, but you're looking at it's quite aggressive. It's very, very actively aggressive with the fake sun documentation, with the engineered light, with the amplified audible activity, with the gang stalking by the government. It's supposed to appear, it does appear passive aggressive when I'm showing you, look, they're both stalking and not looking at you. They're stalking and they don't know you. They're stalking and they're not addressing you. Okay, that is referred to as, for lack of a better term, passive aggressive. However, it's very aggressive conduct. It's psychologically harmful conduct. It's very, very aggressive. It's psychopathic. Okay, but that's how it is executed. That's the purpose behind it. That's how it's supposed to appear. All right, but nonetheless, at 6:06 p.m. plane activity, 6:07 p.m. plane activity. As I'm documenting this, then the demon sends in a teenage gang stalker to skate around me, which is pacing on a skateboard. Audible activity under the fake sun and engineered light monitoring. 6:10 p.m. plane activity, while they're monitoring literally what I'm doing on the internet as I navigate pages on the internet. And then 6:13 p.m. plane activity as the fake sun images that I take in screenshots, which again, the demon possessed who are exposed by this, exposed by being shown to be obsessed with me, exposed by shown to be engaged in stalking me, exposed by being exposed by their demon possession being readily known and identified by me to you. The entity is hostile to that, but they're stalking. They're mad about it, but they're still stalking. Okay, very much obsessed with me. The entity is engaging what is amplifying plane activity as I take these screenshots at 6:13 p.m. at the OVITT Family Community Library at 215 U.S.C. Street in Ontario, California, 91764. And at 6:20 p.m., the entity is stalking with impossible light, and this is ongoing because the fake sun remains, and the fake sun is supposed to be the guise under which you are subconsciously, because you're not sitting around thinking about the sun, you're not sitting around thinking about sunlight, you're not even paying attention to the impossible light that happens all around you all the time, but subconsciously you are associating the sun in the sky with the light that's touching all over everything because it's daytime, and you are subconsciously also accepting the false notion, the absurd notion that the sun is everywhere all day long over all of us. That's not the case, and only the sky does that, not the sun. But not only that, it's not even sunlight. So they're always stalking with light, day and night, by the way. But the stalking with light is where I'm seated on the adjacent to the library under a covered walkway where there's no sunlight, if you will. The entity has engineer light flashing across, shooting through the hallway, and that's directly tailored to the sick mind. When I show you, when I detail these iterations of the P.O.C, it's going toward the sick mind, the people of the state, the demon possessed, because it's not just the third parties, it's the government. It's the gang stalking police that need to be disbanded. They are raging psychopaths. And the more I document, the more triggered that they are, the more aggressive they get with that helicopter, the more I document, the longer they're going to prison, the more support it is for disbanding. They're being disbanded. But this is, again, documenting psychopaths who are being led to their ultimate demise. And it's inevitable, okay? Because I'm aware of their mental illness, and they are triggered by my exposing them. They're triggered by my speaking of it. They're triggered by my documenting them in order to prosecute them for what they are again know is wrong. Government actors know what's inappropriate. They know what's legal and illegal. They are engaging in it and have been able to get away with it, and they are very hostile to someone telling them that they're wrong. That's a spirit. That's Satan. And that is even those that are in public official positions, unfortunately. But you need to understand the underlying. What do you take from that? There are government officials that hate America. They hate American citizens. They hate the Constitution, the notion of it. There are American citizens and people that have been granted that hate this country, and the same. That's the reality there, but nonetheless, you're getting to what is a tendency to engage and inflict harm. And so this is mental illness, actual mental illness, while I'm exposing it, their criminal conduct. And that engineered light shooting in a hallway in a manner that's okay, that's ridiculously impossible. That is going right to the sick psychopath that's holding hands with their two kids, and looking consumed with talking to their newborn baby, and they're laughing so loud, and they're demons who are stalking together. And that ongoing duplicitous demeanor and behavior is exposing psychopathic tendencies. And that is what is very disturbing about the demon-possessed population that don't want you to know that they exist. And they're targeting American citizens, and they are in government, and they are the people of the state that live in this country that are targeting with the government, and they're engaged in surveillance, massive surveillance. Okay, so that's what's happening at 6:20 p.m. No, I'm sorry. Yeah, 6:20 p.m. the ILA flashing in this hallway, and at 6:30 p.m. the criminal summoning. The city of Ontario sounds sirens at the same time that a pop-up shows up on my laptop. That's pursuant to federal stalking. I'll go ahead and let this plane go by. The entity is documenting itself. This is at 280 North Lemon Apartments and the OVITT Family Community Library. Engineer lights touching all over everything. And the LAPD is in the same environment where the entity is keeping a fake sign outside of my bedroom window in LA. Don't forget that when they're providing evidence against the police department that's being disbanded and the police that engaged in kidnapping on May 29th and the people of the state that are guilty with regard to engaging in terrorism with the government in the city of Ontario, in the state of California, basically. The LAPD is gang stalking in a specific environment, not a natural environment, where the sun is sitting over OVITT Family Community Library at the entrance for over 9 hours. Okay, the plane activity, which is impossible to hear, where planes are taking off from the airport at 280 North Lemon over the roof of a senior citizen apartment complex at that. There's no plane activity that's going to be heard, experienced, and it's also not going to be that loud either. So this is, again, that mental illness of the entity that's just engaging in what is defiant conduct, just defiant to be defiant. That's psychopathic behavior. I'm going to break the law. I'm going to be a criminal. I'm going to do what I want to do because I want to do it, even though that's the behavior of the demon possessed. That's a national security threat when you have this sort of gang conduct, this sort of lawlessness by the government as well. So nonetheless, that's plane activity. And at 6:30 p.m., the entity engages in criminal summoning at 6:30 at the same time that a pop-up shows up on my laptop screen. So that's federal stalking conduct pursuant to surveillance that's underway on the venue of the internet as well. And the entity gang stalking by planes over here is pursuant to what is criminal monitoring on the venue of the internet. Remember, federal stalking is occurring on your communication devices online, and the entity that is pacing around an engineer light, stalking with light, it affects your communication devices. It affects the operation of internet, all right? It affects your ability to access it and how it functions or whatnot. And that's relevant to federal stalking, and that's also why I advocate additional language in the federal stalking statute based on the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring, gang stalking, where the demon possessed, the whole purpose of them is to maintain presence when they're stalking. The entity, the government is monitoring, the government is stalking, in other words. Monitoring is pursuant to stalking. You can only monitor somebody that you are following around. The government has no authority to do that. The government is stalking. The government has a helper. It's the demon-possessed people of the state. They're stalking. And they are monitoring American citizens. They are stalking American citizens. And as they are stalking in the specific environment, it affects your communication devices. This is what I'm getting to with regard to stalking with activity based on what I do on my communication device. Engaging what is stalking with light based on what I do on my devices. It immediately affects my device, the simultaneity of conduct as they're monitoring and activity happens on the device. They're monitoring on devices. And so that is relevant to surveillance as well. At 6:38 p.m. plane activity. At 6:40 p.m. again repeated plane activity. At 6:41 p.m. plane activity. While impossible light activity, ILA is the acronym that I'm noting. While impossible light activity is surrounding me, and this is getting to the mentally ill police department. While the entity is exhibiting mental illness and gang stalking, you need to understand that this is shared by the mentally ill, demon-possessed gang stalkers who are the city police department, not a legitimate police department. We use words that have meaning, and when you're engaged in criminal surveillance, that's not policing, that's not law enforcement, and it is inappropriate and it's false to refer to the Ontario Police Department as a police department because those words actually have meaning. Those demons are playing dress up and exercising authority under the law that they do not actually have, but they are maliciously and unethically and unconstitutionally exercising that authority. And it's a crime just because it hasn't been prosecuted, just because it hasn't been exposed at the level with regard to the repercussions happening right now. That hasn't happened yet. That doesn't mean that it's less criminal. I'm exposing it, and it is unlawful, and they are illegitimate. In fact. Okay, so just because you're engaging in not being caught having a pair of breast implants, that doesn't make them your real breast because it hasn't been exposed that you weren't born with those. Those are fake. You bought those. Okay, that doesn't mean that they're your real breast because nobody knows yet. It hasn't been exposed the date and time when you went to that plastic surgeon in the middle of the night because you didn't want anybody to know that you got that surgery. All right, just to give you an illustration, at a far less serious level. But the idea, the rationale behind that, they're entirely illegitimate. They're engaged in criminal activity, and they're calling themselves a police department. And this is what's going on in the state of California and in this country where criminal monitoring is underway. And it is built on what is the corruption of the executive branch. So they are relying on criminal monitoring by the police, who are engaging in what is enforcing this system by corrupt acts like what I've shown you: kidnapping, murder, the loss of life of those who are subject to the P.O.C. The entity is also the same one that controls the narrative. They're the ones that conduct a quote-unquote investigation. They're the ones that conduct a quote-unquote autopsy. They're the ones that are in that position to bring a case against an alleged defendant or whatnot. This is the corrupt government that's engaged in criminal surveillance. So the corrupt police departments, unfortunately, with exposing this, it's demoralizing, but it's the reality, and it needs to be known with regard to what is inherent to gang stalking and how this corrupt system operates. It's public corruption. It's not law enforcement. It's not. So you don't have authority under the law. You're exercising authority that you don't actually have, because the Constitution is actually a document that is legally significant. I know you don't have to know the law to get past the academy. Any sociopath clearly can. Okay, but the law actually has meaning and purpose, and the way in which it's executed and the way that it's used, and it is affected by those who are in a position to use it. So it is affected by those that are in that position to either abuse the law, disregard the law, or uphold the law and enforce the law in a just manner that the police want it to be. They want to appear as though they're doing that, and they're not. And this isn't just some of them. It's not just the ones that I'm documenting. It's not just those 4 on May 29, 2025. It's the Ontario Police Department, and this is, again, a pattern shared by the Los Angeles Police Department, engaging in gang stalking me in a specific environment. I cannot make up all the facets of that system. It's a statewide P.O.C. Okay, so this is speaking to the pattern of conduct, and this is what the entity has been doing under the fake sun that's still present here at 7:19 p.m. where the city of Ontario is essentially, with regard to a prosecution, they are presenting evidence against the Ontario police who are gang stalking like this. The Ontario International Airport follows me around in the city of Ontario. Right now, they're over the Ontario Town Square, the library, the 280 North Lemon Apartments. They follow me over to G Street, where the TABOR Professional Building is, and they engage in taking off over there. That's much more northwest, while they follow me over there and engage in this amplified plane activity, stalking. There's no planes taking off over the senior citizen complex. They're doing the same thing when they're at the Woodside Senior Apartments, which I've documented in a wealth of documentation, even before 2024, 2025. They're presenting evidence against the Ontario Police Department that I am focusing on because they engaged in another kidnapping. But it's the state of California. LAPD's gang stalking evidence. You cannot rebut. You cannot disregard. You cannot literally overlook that damning evidence. Not only what the city of Ontario is engaging in, very foolish in the environment, very foolish. And the demon-possessed that are psychopaths are too ego-driven to stop engaging what is very damning at this point to themselves. And that's merely just a psychopath. Okay, but they have already lost in the endeavor to gang stalk and make it look like the target individual is mentally ill. They've already lost in the endeavor to engage in gang stalking with the people of the state and make it look like they're not engaging in anything, that the target individual is making it up. That's never, it's not even remotely close. They lost that. They lost that. And that's the purpose of gang stalking. It's supposed to create the illusion of mental illness by the target individual. The entity is appearing as the mentally ill entity that it is. These are raging psychopaths, very sick, in positions such as even parenthood, that they are totally a danger in doing so. And they're a danger to themselves and the public, including while they're gang stalking. And this is, you're looking at the population. So what are the implications there? The implications are disturbing, but this is inevitable. The implications is that there are far more dangerous people out there, psychopathic, with regard to actual mental illness, than what this propaganda about mental illness out here, such as targeting someone like myself that suffers no mental illness whatsoever, while the population is gang stalking me, exhibiting severe mental illness in doing so, stalking in unheard of methods, so unheard of that you're supposed to falsely depict the character of that person that doesn't even know how to put words to what these demons are doing. All right, that's not my position. I'm advocating on behalf of the ordinary targeted individual that wouldn't have a vocabulary, that wouldn't have the ability to articulate what in the hell are these lunatics doing around me. Why are they following me? What are they doing? I provided that, and I've laid it out in an understandable and palatable manner so that this system is understood, and it's also not impervious to a prosecution. But the entity is merely this, and this is getting back to, again, what's very disturbing. A lot of people are mentally sick, and that's also based on, contrary to what you're told as well, it's based on the fact that they're demon possessed, that they're lost. They need Jesus. Literally, they are filled with the spirit of Satan, and Satan compels them. Satan is literally using them up like prostitutes and making them appear. Well, you make a decision, but they are demon possessed, and what Satan compels them to do, they do. These demonic spirits are using their bodies, and they're engaged in stalking with light. That's very demented behavior. You're demonstrating severe mental illness while you do that. Even while you look to the left and right like it's not happening, you look even crazier. The entity sought to make the target individual look mentally ill, and it's not working. It doesn't work, by the way. It's actually illogical, the whole premise of the gang stalking system. So I flipped that on its head. And there is under no circumstances any reflection on the target individual where you got a bunch of people stalking you. That's not in their imagination. And I've proven that. And in addition, when you make allegations about things that have never been heard of, that also doesn't create mental illness because there's no evidence of it. So you have to be careful there, especially when you have a corrupt government like the city of Ontario, like the city of Los Angeles. A lot of the propaganda regarding mental illness out here is designed to facilitate this very system, to insulate it. And the demon possessed are being put in the forefront under their own fake sun so that you can see the psychopaths, so you can see the dangers to the public. All right. And they're having kids every day. They're being elected to office. They are working around children. They're working in the public sector. They're flying planes and helicopters, as you can hear. They are in positions of government. They are in positions where they are a threat to the public that they have direct contact with. So I just wanted to document that. The entity is sounding plain activity, again, not because it's prudent or smart or under any circumstances something that is capable of being explained and being identified as anything other than you're clearly deviating from the airport in order to be even heard and to be flying, like I've documented, planes hovering over the senior citizen complex, over the town square, over the this airspace right here, hovering over the street of Euclid Avenue, wherever it is that I'm at. You're necessarily deviating, and that word is synonymous with you're targeting with regard to gang stalking. That's what they're doing. And they're doing it while I'm documenting podcasts because you're dealing with a demonic spirit that's more psychopathic than it is logical. And it's also going to be used against them. The entity is also lacking in the ability to strategize and have any prudence, any foresight, because I'm going to prosecute based on this obvious engagement in criminal conduct by a government. And it's going to be used against its own co-defendant, the Ontario Police Department. All right. It's 7:25 p.m. This is P.O.C. pursuant to the ongoing gang stalking, the harassment, the terrorism that the entity is engaging in with amplified audible activity, with impossible light. The demon possessed are obsessed with me, and the impossible light activity is the direct evidence of it. They are obsessed, and it's also getting to what is the violent sex offense. They are obsessed with my vagina. They're obsessed with my being indisposed in the private space. They're obsessed with following me everywhere, including into bathrooms. That is the quintessence of a sex offender. It doesn't get any more vivid than that. They are sex offenders that follow into bathrooms, and you're not supposed to know that you're being gang stalked. You're not supposed to know that a demon knows when you're pulling your panties down, and they know when you're touching yourself, and they're simultaneously creating activity. Very sick and depraved. It's predatory. It's perverted. It's sexually motivated. Those are the sex offenders. Again, I want you to think about the police department when I describe that to you, because that's what they do. I want you to think about the demons flying planes from the Ontario International Airport, because those demon-possessed pilots, that's what they do. They're gang stalkers. The demons that are holding hands with children and they want you to look at them one way when I'm showing you the context, the substance of what they're doing, while you look at them smiling all they want, while they're looking like they're doing a Folgers coffee commercial, and you think about what I just described about them monitoring my vagina while they're smiling in the faces of their children, because that's what they're doing. Okay? It's currently 7:27 p.m. This is gang stalking underway at the OVITT Family Community Library, where the engineer light is covering all the ground still. That's why the plain activity is heard. They're always engaging what is evidence that is clearly pointing to the crime. Nobody is lost. Nobody's confused. There's no mystery here. They're clearly gang stalking now. So their obsession is no longer hidden. It is 7:27 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, at 8:16 p.m., the demon-possessed, who are mentally ill, they continuously demonstrate it with simultaneous crossing path at the the turn circle where the demon-possessed, under the fake sun, are stalking with impossible light that drags across the doors, just like they do inside of Starbucks when they're driving outside of the building, because they don't drive in the building, and sunlight also doesn't shoot out the side of your car door when you're driving outside. The entity is crossing path, stalking with light, while the sound of what is reminiscent of a gunshot in the presence of the Ontario Police Department as well. And so you have a psychopath that is pacing from a vehicle back to the entrance of the OVITT Family Community Library. And the guise of this demonic pacing is taking one book and taking it to the book return, taking another book back to the car and putting it back in the this demon is pacing back and forth after the audible activity that the demons are intentionally, deliberately creating with regard to what I documented and what I continue to document while the police department are threatening and gang stalking, and they're going to be prosecuted for it while they keep doing it with the people. The demon is crossing path. That's called stalking with light at the turn circle. At the same time, audible activity under the guise of what is that which is reminiscent of the sound of a gunshot. And again, as I brought it up, I recently addressed that at the TABOR professional building, where the Ontario police are gang stalking me by helicopter, and the Ontario International Airport's engaging in stalking in planes over there. And since I brought that up, because the entity did it, now the entity is continuously doing what it is that I documented. So just want to bring that up. They are literally stalkers, and they literally replicate what it is that I speak about. It's literally mental illness of a whole population that's stalking. But nonetheless, the demon crosses path with the vehicle while the sound of what sounds like a gunshot is heard, and the Ontario police are engaged in criminal summoning. Remember, criminal summoning is the whole purpose of the Ontario police. They're not legitimate law enforcement. They're engaged in criminal surveillance. So everything that they're doing with regard to their stalking and surveillance is supposed to be rooted in what they're providing as services as law enforcement. That is criminal summoning, something that is criminal, and it is a basis for including their presence. It's criminal summoning. Impossible light by a demon exhibiting severe mental illness, while the Ontario police stalk with impossible light, because I'm describing the fact that the Ontario police are a bunch of criminals, and as they're demonstrating, mentally ill ones. Impossible light comes through the side hallway. It's not a coincidence, the timing, and it's not a coincidence that it's a psychopath of the Ontario Police Department. This is very unfortunate, because the entity they're engaging in conduct that is not under any circumstances mysterious. So you're stalking in the path with impossible light, and immediately the Ontario Police Department is associated with psychopathic stalking and demonic activity. And I'm stating it in real time, and it's published to the internet, and your inability to control yourself is thereby exhibited again. And you're documented engaging in what are repeated acts of kidnapping as a department. You're stalking where the Ontario International Airport is providing evidence about you, even though I've already established my credibility, and it's already shown that I'm not a liar. I don't have to lie. I'm not into lying. And the Ontario police are demon possessed. That's impossible light that's occurring under the hallway adjacent to me, and it's also targeting based on the timing. While I'm talking about the fact that they're not a real law enforcement, they're a terrorist organization, and they literally just did that. That's terrorism. The demon is driving at the turn circle, and impossible light occurs by me, while an Ontario police vehicle is driving by me. They're stalking with light, and like I said, the crazier the light, the crazier the person. It's literally that's the formula. The demon possessed exhibit their mental illness to you in ways I'm going to let you know about. The more disturbing the light activity, the more disturbed the mind. That is the sick mind of a psychopath that bears weapons, bears a badge, exercises authority that it doesn't actually have under the law, where the Ontario Police Department treated as the way that they actually are based on what they're doing, based on the posture under the law, and that would be treating them as criminals, as stalkers. and as sex offenders who are have no business in law enforcement. They're going to be treated like that. This is the evidence. You're witnessing the formal process of that. They are currently engaging in what is conduct as though they're a legitimate law enforcement agency, and stalking me with impossible light is directly rebutting their very highly unpersuasive act, especially because every day and every night I'm documenting them stalking me. Nonetheless, the entity engages in that, and they give me the evidence. It's just my duty to report. So that's the Ontario police that are stalking with the people of the state that cross path, stalking with light, and then a demon gets out under the age of majority, runs back and forth from the vehicle to the entrance of the library that's crossing path with me, back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, using a child to engage in that psychopathic pacing, which is what the Ontario Police Department do, using helicopters flying in circles over me everywhere while they're obsessed with me, and their obsession is because they are demon possessed. And their stalking me is also evident in their conduct as they engage in stalking with light behavior, not different from the people of the state. So that is also getting to, again, the demon possessed population. You just have the demons that play dress up. It's Halloween every day for the Ontario Police Department. The entity is only engaging in what is a difference in costumes with regard to the demon possessed that are in a position that they will be removed from, that, but that they have no, there's absolutely no business for demons, no business for stalkers, no business for sex offenders, no business for mentally ill people like those who are currently working for what is referred to as the Ontario Police Department to be in that position. And that's what this documentation, and that's what the evidence against literally the Ontario Police Department, and that's what the evidence against other actors that are going to be used against what the Ontario Police Department is engaging in, because it's impossible to have this pattern of conduct like I do amongst various, multiple, plethoric body of evidence. The LAPD is evidence against the Ontario Police Department. It's inevitable. They're demons stalking me with impossible light in my bedroom while those demons are crossing path in helicopter, and that light activity has nothing to do with sunlight. Neither is that the sun that sits over me at my apartment all day long like I documented. They are demons. They're the demons of the Ontario Police Department. They are stalking in real time while I'm on the phone recording it. That is so easy for me to say, this is a demon of the Ontario Police that's stalking with light right now. The ease with which I document that to expose them, and the psychopaths that can't control themselves continuously. At that point, that's when you're harming yourself. I'm no longer, I was never hurting you. You were stalking me in the first place, but you're hurting yourself. Okay, like I said, you're hurting your own interests. Nobody is looking at me like I'm lying or making it up. They're not. No one is questioning what it is that I'm reporting about. No reasonable questioning. The demons are out here listening and scrutinizing what is inscrutable. But like I said, the entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct, and I went through my own legal analysis, my own checking of what it is. I've gone through my own process whereby I am subjecting the pattern of conduct to every possible way in which you are contesting it. But the evidence speaks for itself. The pattern of conduct, what they do, speaks for itself. You see the light flying in the air. No, that doesn't come out of a hat. That doesn't come out of a car. That doesn't come out of a cell phone. That doesn't come out of, that's them doing that, and I document it. And I just brought to your attention what you have been exposed to, but you just weren't paying attention to it. And it's within a pattern of conduct, and it's also exposing closeted mental illness that's also right in front of your face. And that's going to inform those that are a part of law enforcement agencies. They present a real-time threat to the public. And they're stalking me with light in Ontario. It's the Ontario so-called police department. They're up stalking me all day and night. They're consumed in studying my vagina. That's not law enforcement. You're flinging light around. You look stupid. You look crazy. That's not law enforcement. It's preposterous. It's embarrassing. These are demons. And these demons they're clowns. They're being put in the proper box, if you will, the box of being discarded from being mistaken for anything remotely close to sane or even capable of being in a position of law enforcement, which you're not. The people of the state are stalked with impossible light. The people of the state are stalked with amplified audible activity. You're witnessing their mental illness as they demonstrate it. That's the crazy in somebody's mind. They're very sick. All right. And it's not hidden anymore. That's my job. That's what I'm doing. I'm unveiling that for you. I'm enabling you to see it and witness it. The crazier they want to get with the light, that's your ability to know somebody is very mentally sick. And that's for your information. That's for your own protection. Seriously. And not only that, that's informing with regard to the entity that's engaging in the pattern of conduct of federal group stalking and monitoring. The entity is engaging in what is stalking with light, doing so as I'm documenting the fact that they are in relevant position. So Ontario PD stalking me with impossible light. They're doing so while the entity is sounding what's reminiscent of gunshots, while a demon-possessed third party whose criminal engagement in gang stalking is evidence against the Ontario Police Department. Who's the Ontario Police Department gang stalking with? The people of the state, the people that criminally summon them. This criminal system, which is providing a means for them to get a paycheck off of terrorism. This isn't law enforcement. And then somebody with monkey poo for brains stalks with impossible light activity while I'm documenting on podcast, and I'm going to put it right on the internet. This is the police department that wants you to ignore the hundreds and hundreds of videos and even the dozens of videos that I've captured since the latest kidnapping and look at them as a legitimate law enforcement and don't listen to me. Don't think that they're demons while they're under an enduring light source during the day that remains over me, and a light source at night also. The fake sun and the fake moon at night while they engage in what is doing basically like a hula hoop with the helicopter activity over my head. Everywhere that I go, the helicopter goes. Okay, the entity is obsessed with me, and that is shown through their stalking with light conduct. The entity is mentally sick, and that is shown through their impossible light activity, their light conduct. The entity is a sex offender, and that is shown through their light conduct. The entity is engaging in what is gang stalking, stalking as a community, as a group, and that is shown through the light conduct. And the entity is continuously doing so even while I document now. It's as foolish as sounding the plane activity. Those are the demons that are very, very foolish. They're very foolish. The entity is engaging in what it is. They will cut off their nose to spite their own face. That's that type of mindset. Very sick. And that mindset is not mature enough, is not capable, is not trustworthy to be in law enforcement either. And I'm exposing it. That's why they've engaged in kidnapping. That's why they're engaged in criminal surveillance. That's why they're engaged in what is criminal activity as a police department. They're getting paid to engage in terrorism. Yeah, it has to end. And it's going to end. But the entities engaging in this conduct together, and so sounding gunshots while the Ontario police are engaged in criminal summoning. Everything related to Ontario police vehicles and helicopters and the police resources, it's pursuant to criminal summoning. That's all they're doing. That's all they're doing. It's not law enforcement. They're engaged in criminal surveillance, and it taints everything about that police department. It's not a police department. All right, it's a terrorist organization, and it's a crime scene. Pay attention to my video of the fake sun at this time of year when the entity was keeping the fake sun rising and setting over Woodside. The entity is keeping the fake sun rising and setting at this time of year over me in Los Angeles when I'm working at Alvarado Gardens in LA. But I have the fake sun over the top of my head at the Ontario Police Department at this time of year in 2021. Over my head. They're a bunch of demons, and they're gang stalking, and their police department is a crime scene where a whole bunch of cockroaches call themselves police officers and sergeants and captains. That's Satan that likes to esteem himself. They're stalking me with light. They're monitoring me. They're obsessed with everything that I state about them. And you know what their obsession is? They wouldn't be triggered if they weren't stalking me so much. So if you weren't obsessed with my vagina, then you wouldn't have to suffer me telling everybody about your obsession with my vagina. And by the way, when you're stalking with impossible light activity, you are telling everybody that you're obsessed with my vagina, in case you don't understand how this works yet. If you don't want to be exposed as a sex offender, stop being a sex offender, okay? And hence the impossible light activity continues. That's the demon that's crossing path at a distance while impossible light occurs in front of me. That's how you know that the demon possessed are stalking. That's what they're doing inside of Starbucks. While you hear amplified audible activity of a motorcycle, they're gang stalking with their buddies, the demons of the Ontario Police Department. Where the fake sun remained over OVITT Family Community Library today, at what point in the natural environment could the sun be over the Ontario Police Department at 2500 South Archibald off of the 60? It couldn't. But it was because they're demons who are stalking. And that environment follows me, where all the demons are monitoring, where they're obsessed with me, and they're obsessed with my vagina. And in real time, that truth that's being spoken, a demon that's gang stalking and providing evidence against the gang stalking of the Ontario Police Department crosses path and does the exact same thing that a demon driving an Ontario Police Department vehicle is doing, stalking with impossible light, which is satanic behavior that's going to be used to prosecute in federal courts in this country. It's evidence of criminal surveillance, and it's also evidence of mental illness. Yes, indeedy. But the entity is doing so with regard to knowledge. That's what it's admitting, that they are engaged in criminal surveillance as well, because you don't have any coincidences there. There's no coincidences with regard to the supernatural. All right, so this is, again, the entity that's engaging in that, stalking with impossible light activity while they're going dizzy, driving around the turn circle, focused on me. You're driving away, a distance away from me. You're not looking at me. You're focused on the road. But the truth is that the demon-possessed are maniacal psychopaths, and they're stalking me as a population, including while they're holding the hands of kids. Those demons are focused on me, and the light activity proves it. The fake sun proves it. The amplified audible activity proves it. The tremendous stalking of the city of Ontario proves it. All manner of plane and helicopter following me where I go in the city. That's the priority of all of the demons. All of the demons are following me, and they're going to follow me to federal prosecution. That's where I'm leading them. I'm leading them to federal prosecution. I'm leading them to disbanding. I'm leading them to federal prison. I'm leading them to mental asylums. That's where they're being led. It is currently 8:32 p.m. where the entity is engaging what is demonstrating mental illness, while the amplified audible activity gets more chaotic in that background. That's speaking to the mental illness. Like I said, pay attention. The crazier the light, the crazier the entity. They're telling you about their mental illness in all the ways. I'm just teaching you how to pay attention. All right, the more chaotic, the more demonic, the more impossible that light activity, the more heavy the pacing. With regard to the satanic pacing by helicopter, they're telling you about their mental illness, and it's going to be used in court against them. It's currently 8:32 p.m. This is P.O.C. That's a senior citizen complex. That's audible activity. That's called crossing path. That's monitoring. And it's clear targeting by the Ontario International Airport that's located at 2900 Airport Terminal Road. Airport Road. There's no airport. And this is the OVITT Family Community Library, where I showed you the fake sun at 18 a.m. That's how you know that they're gang stalking. And also it's engineered light right now. That's the Ontario City Hall. There's no airport over there. The Ontario Fire Department's on the opposite side of the parking lot. There's no airport over there. This is the Ontario Senior Center. There's no airport over there. The College of Law, Laverne College of Law is right here. There's no airport, where they are flying from this direction, flying west over this plaza of the City of Ontario events, and taking off. This is what they're doing over Woodside Senior Apartments, stalking in the path. Clearly deviating from 2900 Airport Road, which is under no circumstances anywhere going to be hovering from, when you're taking off from the airport, you're not going to be over this apartment building. But you know that they're stalking because they're in it. So let me show you my shadow so you know that the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking, because that's who's being disbanded, while the City of Ontario is using commercial planes from the airline to engage in criminal monitoring. This is my arms on this brick wall over here. Those are my arms on this back wall over here. 3 sets of them. And here's my shadow back here. Here's my shadow back here. And the people of the state are pacing all around, walking all around, monitoring with the City of Ontario in this environment. This has nothing to do with these light fixtures. It's a supernatural environment where criminal monitoring of a satanic nature, where they're hovering over a senior citizen complex, pacing, walking in this direction, flying in this direction, and the frequency of the planes. The demons possess, they ration in their minds that are very sick, they stalk with impossible light, that if they continuously do it, engaging in obvious targeting, that's going to rebut what I just stated, that 2900 Airport Road is nowhere near what is the Ontario Town Square, that there are no planes taking off from the airport and hovering over this sky space. The entity is obviously engaging what is hovering, and Alan D. WAPNER is already exposed as the gang stalker while they're flying over Woodside Senior Apartments everywhere that I'm at. And when I'm at the TABOR Professional Center, that's where they're stalking, and they're not flying south like this. They're deviating, migrating as I migrate in the engineered light, my shadows surrounding me, This is a gang of shadows around me, while you just saw, again, a series of planes flying over a senior citizen complex where a bunch of demons are gang stalking. All you're doing is walking around in this light monitoring. You're flying around in this light monitoring. The demons are driving in the turn circle right here, and impossible light is flashing all around while they're all stalking me. The city of Ontario is proving that, while they have planes that are coming from an airport where there's no terminals where you would even be heard and perceptible in this airspace right here. Okay, this is the Ontario Plaza location, the fire department, the city hall. This is the library where the entity is also keeping the fake sun from 9:10 a.m., 9:18 a.m. documented, and I documented at 6 p.m. That's also how you know that that's a demon, in particular flying a plane, and that these are demons who are monitoring in the abnormal environment and where the government engages in what is clear targeting by aiding in the elements of monitoring. The Ontario International Airport is a gang stalker, as the evidence already shows. The entity gang stalking over my hotel room at 2301 South Euclid Avenue, at the Economy Inn, where the entity was keeping the fake sun over my hotel room there as well, and flying over my hotel room. There's no terminal over there either. Engaging what is doing donuts in the sky space, just stalking me wherever I am at with commercial airline planes in this light activity, which is criminal monitoring. Stalking in the path when you're looking at the engineer light. Stalking in the path while they're driving toward and away, they're pacing. This is what they're doing on foot, pacing, monitoring. While they're engaging in that, impossible light activity was flashing. That's what is documented on the podcast. That's a demon, and they're stalking with the government. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. Okay, this is state surveillance that the police department is engaging in. They're engaged in criminal summoning. They're not a legitimate law enforcement agency. And the Ontario International Airport's clear engagement in federal group stalking and monitoring is evidence against the city of Ontario, which includes a gang stalking police department, an oxymoron, something that's intolerable in the U.S. Incentivizing public corruption, that is Euclid Avenue and C Street, and that's gang stalking right there. It's P.O.C. It is currently 8:56 p.m. And this is also where you all are also aware of that they're monitoring my vagina. This is relevant to the sex offense where criminal surveillance pursuant to my genitalia is also underway. Public information about everything concerning my life while the entity is targeting me, and I'm going to expose that because I'm also going to prosecute, because this is the entity that engaged in kidnapping. Oh, they knew exactly what was going on in Tracy Banks' apartment. There was no physical altercation. She wasn't punched. She wasn't smacked. And the Ontario police also knew that when she lied, and they, in reliance on her lie, together lying, make those malicious assertions so that the gang stalker Arrowhead Regional Medical Center can rely on it and exercise fictitious authority under the Welfare and Institutions Code while they're gang stalking in this very light activity inside of the hospital. Okay, they were monitoring in that hospital, and they engaged in kidnapping, and the entity is going to federal prison for it. As surely as these ignoramuses continuously gang stalk by plane, and I provide you legal analysis to let you know that every aspect of the federal offense of gang stalking is going to be prosecuted thoroughly. Their mental illness is exhibited through the impossible light activity. Their mental illness is exhibited through the amplified audible activity. You hear how chaotic it is? Because those demons are listening to me speak the truth and listening to me prosecute and embarrass them. They're obsessed with my vagina as well, okay? I'm going to keep putting that out there because that's the truth. These sex offenders are going to federal prison. All right, those are demons that are stalking me and monitoring my vagina as a matter of a government program, stalking me in bathrooms and stalking at public establishments like Starbucks, where they're maintaining criminal surveillance, and it's inhumane and unconstitutional, and you have highly unintelligent and woefully unprepared demons that are providing evidence, obvious evidence for a federal prosecutor like myself to destroy them in court. I'm going to destruct them in court. It is currently 8:58 p.m. This is P.O.C. OVITT Family Community Library, impossible light activity all over the place because they're monitoring. They're monitoring with the people of the state. Psychopaths, they don't have to talk to you. They're stalking in the specific environment. They're psychopaths. Actual mental illness by the gang stalkers, the demon-possessed, the living dead. P.O.C. Crossing path, monitoring. P.O.C. Demons. Absolutely demons. Everything they're doing is about me. And this is how you know it. And this is an unlawful threat by the government, and they're going to be prosecuted for it. P.O.C. So I just want to show you, this is clear evidence of following from place to place, migrating as I leave the library. I'm walking north. The people are pacing, and that's stalking in an airplane. The library's down that way. And so when I was at the library, they were flying adjacent to what is Euclid Avenue. This is E as in Edward, following as I'm walking up the street, walking north. And so are the people. They're all following also. They're stalking. Stalking with light. They're all pacing all around me, stalking with light. And the evidence of that, that's a long, tall shadow. Here's a shadow right here beneath me. The entity is engaging what is stalking in planes. That's exactly what I just captured with that gang of shadows at the library. That's the evidence of gang stalking as well. This the environment that defies nature. All right. Street lamps don't create multiple shadows. You stand under light, your shadow appears on the ground. In the specific environment, you've got all manner of dynamic light. The light you just saw was traveling backwards. They're demons. They are stalking. Those are demon possessed. That's mental illness you're looking at right now while they're stalking on the side of the street, aiming light. They're demons. All right. They're gang stalking and they know what I'm saying. They also know about my vagina, the state of my vagina. They're sex offenders and I'm exposing all their secrets while they're stalking me. It is currently 9:35 p.m. That's the Ontario International Airport. That's stalking. That's a citywide criminal effort and it's shared by the people of the state. And the entity is engaging in this, which is what the Ontario Police Department is engaging in. And this is what they were doing. They were gang stalking when they committed kidnapping on May 29, 2025. And they are maniacal psychopaths stalking at every corner, following with light. The specific environment is what gives you context. These demons are maintaining light all around while they're pacing. This isn't traffic and pedestrians and exercise. These are demons in a specific environment. My shadows on both sides of my person at varying levels of concentration, pointed in different directions. It's not the product of street lamps. These are demons and this is criminal surveillance and this is a demon-possessed population. Demon-possessed. No exaggeration. This is demon possession being exposed. This is my upright shadow on this lamp. You see that? They're gang stalking. And so is the airport. They are very highly unintelligent. I'm going to prosecute the demon possessed. This is P.O.C. Ontario Police is gang stalking in the dark. They are crossing path with, they're monitoring with the police. This is Laurelwood Apartments. I documented the Ontario International Airport gang stalking me with them. They live in relevant position and they're pacing while the Ontario Police are stalking in the path, meeting me in the path, stalking with impossible light. So parking lot, impossible light swiping across this building over here. And that's how you recognize targeting. You can also recognize it this way. You see my shadow over here, way in front? Those are demons. Those are the Ontario Police Department. And they're clearly stalking right now as well in the specific environment. And it's the same department that's following me everywhere from place to place in helicopter. Now they're doing it in their vehicles. So you can see the same gang stalking patterns using the resources of a police department where sex offenders are following me from place to place. I was just in the restroom at Starbucks. They were monitoring my vagina. All right. So they know when I'm starting my cycle, they know what it is that's going on in the bathroom. And I'm being this detailed because that's the sex offense that the Ontario Police Department's engaged in. These are demons that are monitoring together. As you see this light, as you see them in the dark, you're looking at ominous stalking. You're looking at demon possession. And it's shared with the people of the state. There is no light over there that's going to cause a shadow here on the ground and these multiple shadows in front of, to give you context about the demon possession of the Ontario Police who are stalking again on video. This is terrorism that's going to be used to disband this demon infected and wildly corrupt department that did commit kidnapping on May 29, 2025. I'm documenting them gang stalking me under the fake sun with the same exact impossible light activity during the daytime that it is at nightfall when there's no fake sun, where it's a clear identification of who is being targeted, and it is me. They are crossing paths as I'm walking in this parking lot. They're driving in the parking lot and that's getting into the path, and they're doing so with the method of light. This is very creepy stalking conduct that the Ontario Police Department is engaging in. And this is the same department that's communicating a threat where you're going to analyze any stalker. They're engaging in a pattern of kidnapping upon a pattern of stalking me everywhere. And they're exhibiting demon possession that is mental illness while they do that. And they are in a position of law enforcement where they are mentally unstable, engaging in a pattern of stalking and kidnapping that is making up information so that they can kidnap me in one way or another. They're engaged in that, and this is an unlawful threat. The people of the state are crossing path and engineer light. They're monitoring audible activity crossing path, monitoring demons. That's the entity. You cannot hear the train over here. You can't hear the train over here. The Ontario Police Department is very much engaged in what is stalking, very much engaged in what is gang stalking. And this is the Ontario Police Department that's engaging in this conduct with the people of the state that's crossing path light activity while the entity is sounding train. It's the P.O.C. And There is no warrant or probable cause to engage in criminal surveillance as a police department. This isn't law enforcement. They're not just having a random little rendezvous in a dark parking lot. They're stalking me in the path with amplified train activity, which you cannot hear. You can't hear that. That's them demonstrating demon possession. While you hear the audible activity, you're looking at demons. Those are demons. This is stalking by the Ontario Police Department. This is going on that playlist of the ongoing stalking by the Ontario Police since the date of kidnapping that I was released on June 3rd, 2025. And the entity is engaged in what is ongoing documented terrorism and stalking as an entire department. Stalking clearly seen under the fake sun, stalking clearly seen where the entity is engaging in what is surveillance in the specific environment, and they're following me around from place to place. And the fact of following through gang stalking is demonstrated through an environment that defies nature, such as amplified audible activity like you're hearing, and it's very clear on their face. They're engaged in traditional stalking, following me from place to place in helicopter, for example, and also with regard to the heavy police presence everywhere that I'm going. That's how you're identifying gang stalking as well. I've been documenting it for years. This is P.O.C. It's currently where you're looking at what is inexplicable light. Because those light fixtures, that is creating light that's shooting horizontally. That's not light that's characteristic with multiple shadows, different varying levels of concentration. And the entity, while those demons drove in the parking lot, engineer light flashed across this wall over here. And you know that I'm speaking the truth because you've seen the engineer light inside of Starbucks when they're gang stalking me by helicopter. They're gang stalking by pacing in traffic on Euclid Avenue, stalking all day long while the fake sun remains over Starbucks for 11 hours. This is the entity that is gang stalking, and this is again your ability to witness what is the disbanding of a demon-possessed and corrupt police department. License, I can't really see that license plate, but the entity is gang stalking with the police. This is what is the parking lot. I just came out of Starbucks and they were monitoring in the private space. They know everywhere that I'm going. They know everything that I'm doing. And they're following right now while the entity is engaging in that P.O.C. with the Ontario International Airport, following from place to place. Oh, this is Providence. There's no terminal to the airport following as I'm leaving the OVITT Family Community Library. This is a grand deviation. Just so that you know, I've walked north. Like I stated, the demons are following from place to place. That's light, relevant positioning. They're monitoring with communication devices, and they're watching me document them, and they're still stalking. That's going to the maniacal psychopath, the stalker. And the airport is migrating north as I go north. While I was at the OVITT Family Community Library, they were keeping in alignment, flying west, and doing so flying over the 280 North Lemon Apartments. This is 507 North Euclid Avenue. The entity is flying in the direction west over the Aegis, over the Truth and Love Family Ministries, and they're doing so while the Ontario Police are stalking in the path with engineered light, because their headlights are not what caused engineered light to flash across that building. They're demons engaging in the elements of monitoring right now as I'm detailing that for you. And you are looking at very creepy stalking. I've documented over the years the Ontario Police Department gang stalking me by parking in dark parking garages for purposes of crossing path. What they're doing right now, they do so with their headlights on. They've done so when they're stalking me in the path, anticipating for me to walk by while they are engaging in what is stalking as a department, maintaining presence everywhere that I go, every street that I cross, maintaining presence in the path, doing so with light. They're documented them gang stalking by parking in dark parking lots, parking in dead ends, parking in dark parking garages where they are lurking in the dark, stalking, gang stalking with the people of the state. Audible activity, relevant positioning, light activity, monitoring together, demon possessed together. This is public corruption. And as creepy as this is, these are the demons that are engaging in what is the pattern of conduct, and it is replete with the fake sun over the Ontario Police Department as well, just to be sure. The police department is a crime scene where it's also proven that there are a bunch of life-size cockroaches, as you see them in the dark, lurking, stalking, sitting in their vehicles. As I start recording, not moving. The moment that I started recording, just sitting in their vehicles, not moving the vehicles anymore. Stalking with impossible light, stalking with the Ontario International Airport that is following me as I go from place to place. Why? They're not flying over what is G Street yet is because I'm not at G Street. What I told you, the documentation is the demons of the Ontario International Airport, they remain on what is the left side of my person with regard to direction. That would be the south side of my person. So as I walk north, they stay on this side of my person. So as I continue walking in this direction, then when I'm on G Street, they'll be flying on the south side of my person, west on G Street as I'm going up, north up the street. The entity is stalking in that manner, as I've been documenting. They stay on a certain side of my person in Ontario. That's why they're flying on this side. As I progress, then they'll be flying over G Street, where the Ontario Police Department is gang stalking, while the entity maintains amplified audible activity, and that department is going to be prosecuted for psychological torture. They're going to be prosecuted for the perpetual sex offense. They're going to be prosecuted for multiple kidnappings with the intent to obstruct justice. And they're also going to be prosecuted for engaging in what is domestic terrorism, gang stalking, period. Federal stalking as well. Violence against women. They're gang stalking at Woodside Senior Apartments. The heavy helicopter activity over me at that apartment complex where the fake sun was rising and setting, where the Ontario International Airport is flying over the apartment complex, gang stalking with the Ontario Police. Okay, they're doing so while I'm walking at nightfall. And this is, I want to be clear, also a show of hostility, because the demons who are psychopaths are very triggered by everything that I said, that I published on my podcast today. And I'm going to go make sure that you listen to it 2 times, because I mean every word that I said, including the fact that the demons of the Ontario Police are being disbanded. And this psychopathic conduct is being made a part of the record, because they're going to prison. El Martinez is going to federal prison for gang stalking, just like you see here. So is Nathan Morgan going to federal prison for gang stalking, just like you see here. So is C. Torres. He's going to federal prison for gang stalking, just like you see here. And so is B. Hook. They're going to federal prison. They're engaged in gang stalking at a department-wide conduct. The entity is stalking with noise while another demon is meeting at the path right here, and they're gang stalking. They're surrounding with the Ontario Police. These are demons together acting in concert. And remember, there's multiple shadows. So the entity is maintaining a specific environment, following me around from place to place, and engaging in what is threatening the federal prosecutor. You're only getting more time in federal prison. All right, so remember the specific environment. This is not the light conduct that's normal. This is not normal light activity. Here's my shadow intersecting. It's meeting as I walk up. Multiple shadows. That's giving you context regarding what you're looking at. Stalking in the dark as well as a corrupt police. That's not law enforcement. That's not law enforcement, and they're not a legitimate law enforcement agency. They're stalkers, and they're sex offenders, and they are raging, unhinged psychopaths. They are sex offenders that are awaiting the appropriate labels, and they're gang stalking with the demons who are the people of the state. Walking in engineer light, making noise, slamming things in engineer light, revving their engine in engineered light, stalking in airplanes in engineered light. This is P.O.C. Remember the gang stalker you saw, the Ontario Police Vehicle 1118 under the fake sun that was over my head, moving from Starbucks to Starbucks to the OVITT Family Community Library, where that fake sun remained until after 6 p.m. That's what the Ontario Police Department is doing. They're gang stalking in that environment that remains around me, and that's the environment that remains right now. The fake sun is the indicator, the hallmark with regard to what is pacing, because that's what this demon is doing, pacing back and forth. Gang stalking with the demons that are sitting in Ontario Police vehicles. This is, again, the entity that is engaging what is providing the evidence against itself at this point. And their obsession with my vagina is why the Ontario Police Department is going to be shut down, and why the demons that engage in kidnapping on May 29th, those 4 predators, they're going to federal prison. And they've been gang stalking me with Tracy Banks for years. And Tracy Banks is getting locked up as well. It is currently, by the way, 10:16 p.m. The entity that is gang stalking with people like Jason Isaac Fields, gang stalking me with Tracy Banks, with Eric Corey Spencer, the entity engaging in what is gang stalking in the same way that the Los Angeles Police Department is, in an environment that is irreconcilable and not shared, not in a natural environment. These demons are sitting in a black parking lot, a dark parking lot, while they're engaged in open surveillance, communicating an unlawful threat in the way that you would analyze any stalker. These are the demon-possessed stalkers of the Ontario Police Department. This is pacing while they're driving forward and reversing. Remember, it's an engineered light. This is a demon exhibiting severe mental illness. And it's about me. They're in a dark parking lot stalking me. This is what's so pathetic about the gang stalkers of the Ontario Police Department. They engage in violence against women, and they're also cowards. License plate, that's vehicle 1045 1614325. I believe. I can't really see that, but the entity is engaged in gang stalking, and that was pacing. And this demon's engaged in what is ongoing loitering in the path. This is unlawful conduct. They're going to be prosecuted. They can't believe it, but they're going to be prosecuted for gang stalking. They don't have any warrant or probable cause to be in the specific environment where surveillance is underway. And it's exposing the criminality of everything that's happening, because it's accomplishing criminal surveillance. And the ways in which they're threatening you while you're documenting it, that's also going to be legally analyzed. This is exposing what is severe mental illness And there's no terminals over here where any planes are going to be hovering. The more that I walk north, the more that you're seeing stalking by the airport in order to aid the criminal engagement in stalking me and monitoring my vagina, which is the illegitimate business of the Ontario Police Department. A whole bunch of sex offenders that are waiting to be labeled appropriately and put in federal cells and asylums where they belong. Also misusing helicopters and gang stalking me every day and night, which I also have a plethora of video evidence proving that as well. This is the entity that engaged in kidnapping because I call the demons out and I call out all of their psychotic and sexually violent behavior. And these demons know exactly who I am because I'm not like them. That's why they're targeting me. It is currently, by the way, 10:19 p.m. and you've witnessed what is the entity gang stalking me, targeting with regard to the specific environment, and stalking in the middle of the night, which is exactly what they're doing by helicopter as well. I can't make this up, and I could not control what the Ontario Police Department continues to give me with regard to prosecuting them. And you already know what the demon-possessed people of the state are doing. Stalking with the possible light. What do you think is going on right now? They're gang stalking together. Those are the baboons that are done as a police department. They can't control themselves. They cannot control themselves. That equals a full comprehensive prosecution for a demon-possessed department that has long awaited being exposed and prosecuted for the sex offenders that they are. This is P.O.C. Stalking me in the middle of the night. They don't have authority under the law. They're stalking. That's not law enforcement. They don't have authority under the law. They're stalking. P.O.C. Molesting with the Ontario International Airport and the police. 8WTK159. Gang stalking at Pizza Hut, 715 North Euclid Avenue. 9KLZ535. Sex offenders touching on my genitalia with impossible light while they're stalking me. And they're doing so with the police department. So these cowards engage in stalking in a dark parking lot, and then they engage in an ongoing demonic campaign. Everybody in the city is pacing around the bank and the Pizza Hut right now and sitting in the parking lot pacing in light because they don't want the video uploaded on the internet. Those are the cowards that are stalking a woman in the middle of the night. Flying, like I said, up here at the Pizza Hut, the shopping plaza off of Euclid Avenue and G Street, where I'm at. Following in planes and in Ontario Police Department vehicles, stalking in dark parking lots where psychopaths that are stalking with the police department, which is getting disbanded, they're over here slinging light around, touching on my genitalia, like 9MRL497. This is a sex offender. She's a sex offender. Molesting with impossible light, stalking with the police. That's federal prison. Just want to let you know that. 9MRL497. She's engaged in federal stalking on the venue of the internet. While I'm uploading the video of the Ontario Police gang stalking. Did somebody just hit something? Loitering in the path and engineer light. All right, it's currently where the entity is engaging in this stalking a woman, engaging in this violence against a woman at 11:03 at night, 11:03 p.m. The video that I captured of the Ontario Police Department gang stalking in the parking lot, it is now in the process of uploading, and you have the people of the state that are up in the middle of the night pacing all around, this maniacal pacing. While there's nothing stopping this stalker from proceeding forward. She's not a good actor. She's supposed to act like she's not a gang stalker. She's not doing a good job. All right, again, that license plate, the demons are full of what is ongoing motivation to stalk with the police. This is criminal conduct that the police are sharing in with the people of the state. This is why they're getting disbanded. This whole demonic club is being shut down, and it's imploding, by the way. While they're gang stalking, it's over. Like, everything that you're doing is known, and the ways in which you do it is fully known, and there's no way that you can do it and it not be known that you're doing it, and you're not going to get away with doing it anymore. And I'm also going to document the fact that you tried to stop me, which is criminal conduct by the government engaging in what is stalking you. And they're doing it on behalf of the government. I want to be clear, this is why the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. So now you have a team of demons that are on scooters and bikes pacing around. This is the criminal conduct of the police. Just want to be clear on that. The police that are stalking in a dark parking lot in Ontario, where the Ontario International Airport is hovering over that parking lot, where the entity is gang stalking with the sound of amplified train activity, and the demons of the Ontario Police Department are terrorizing me. They're threatening me in the dark while impossible light crawled across the wall a great distance away from me in that parking lot, and then they sit in that parking lot, two vehicles ominous stalking in that parking lot. This is the video that they don't want on the internet right now, and this is what I mean by by, you see these demons stalking. Why, pray tell, why would you give over so much evidence stalking that you've seen the YouTube channel? If you haven't, you need to look at it, because the allegations and the evidence supporting every single detailed allegation are present for the world to look at. Why would you on yet another day provide evidence at that level for any other moment? The entities engaging in what is these are demons that have been engaged in. Clearly, you have the people of the state that are working for the corrupt police department, the city of Ontario. Perhaps there's some sort of fear of these demons, that these demons are cowards. They stalk a woman with helicopters, and then they're scared to death that I'm going to put it on the internet. That's not courage. That's not strength. That's not gangster. I don't know what. It's stalking, okay? And it's also satanic, and it's wildly corrupt. And this is what the people of the state are supporting. That's why there's heavy traffic on Euclid Avenue right now. They're pacing around. Remember, movement in the engineered light, stalking, touching my genitalia, touching all over me with impossible light, finding something to do in the parking lot, digging in your trunk, riding your skateboards and your bikes in the parking lot. Everybody goes to order a pizza when I go to Pizza Hut right now. The demons are stalking in the engineer light monitoring, and they're doing it for the government that I just documented on video, stalking me in a dark parking lot, and it's not different like I'm capturing every day, stalking me in helicopters. It is unreasonable for you to question what it is that I'm showing you. It's the engineer light. That's not the product of light fixtures and street lamps. I'm documenting on a daily basis, following from place to place, helicopters remaining over me in an environment that's also supernatural. All right. The fake sun remains over the top of my head no matter how long I sit in that building, in order to underscore to those who are witnessing the exposure of Satan and corrupt government that's engaging in what is criminal surveillance. A fake sun remains over me, and that's where the entity is stalking. And it's satanic. They're demons. And it's the government that's working with the people to engage in surveillance. And these puppets are out here monitoring with the Ontario Police Department, so their act of cowardice can be delayed in being on the internet. It's going on the internet, first of all. It's going on the internet. So they're all engaging in this campaign, and it's going to go on the internet. Everything I have ever captured, it's going on the internet. You are not stopping that. And by the way, since the kidnapping, let's just use that as a timestamp, I've captured more than 24 videos. You're talking about a little bit over a week? That's a lot of documentation of you stalking. Somebody making it up? I'm not going to have anything if I was making it up. In addition to that, you have what is this body of evidence, and they're lurking, engaged in ominous stalking of a woman in the middle of the night, following me around and then terrorizing me with impossible light activity. This is where the Ontario Police Department are using the vehicles as well. You know very well. They're on the front page of the YouTube channel. Stalking in helicopters. This is what they've been doing for years. This is what I showed you, the identifying factor, the symptom, the indicator, the hallmark. Under the fake sun, with gang stalking helicopters, representing a corrupt police department, sharing that pattern of conduct with a plethora of police departments, by the way. Most notably is the Los Angeles Police Department. The entity is engaging in what is gang stalking me, and these demons, many of them can't even pay their rent in Ontario, and they're up in the middle of the night wasting gas money on pacing around. So you must wonder, what is the incentive for the demon possessed? But I know that there is a corrupt system. It's entirely corrupt, and I've exposed it, okay? And I've hit a nerve. And the demons are, this is what I want you to understand. Do not be mistaken. When you see foolishness, that's a fool that provides me documentation on a daily basis of you stalking me as a police department. That's unprecedented criminal conduct, and it's going to cost a lot. They are not fearless. That's fear, and it's foolish. If they were fearless, they would not be stalking so heavily to keep it off the internet. You have no idea how paranoid these demons are, how much of a frenzy they're in. A group arrives around me, follows me around in order to pace, hoping that I always publish it on the internet. Always. It always goes on the internet. That's what I do. I'm exposing you because I'm prosecuting you. The entities engaging in what is gang stalking, you're the idiot that does it, and then you engage in what is stalking and engaging in your light slinging because you want to slow down or stop me from publishing it. Who does that? The psychopaths that are stalking me in bathrooms, that's who does that. The mentally deranged psychopaths that fly in circles over my head in helicopters, that's who does that. That's who does that. And they're concerned with the way that it looks. It doesn't look like you're strong and mighty when you're stalking in helicopters, and then you're having a heart attack about me publishing it on the internet because they're scared to death. They are scared to death that I publish it on the internet. But I'm publishing it on the internet, and I've published all the evidence. I've been publishing evidence for years on the internet. And there is no question, there's no controversy about gang stalking and about who's engaging in it. And I want to make sure that it's clear that the people of the state, I've been taking pictures of their license plates in this parking lot. I've been taking pictures of them while they're coming into Pizza Hut, and Pizza Hut's engaging in they're getting customers because the customers are coming in to engage in crossing a path. That's what they're doing at Starbucks all day long. So the entity's engaging, and the reason why you know that it's not about Starbucks' product and it's about me is because the fake sun is over Starbucks where I'm at. And that fake sun leaves as I leave, no matter how popular that product is, apart from gang stalking me. And Starbucks is still gang stalking me when I'm at the OVITT Family Community Library in relevant position. Starbucks is still gang stalking because the entire state of California is engaged in criminal surveillance on the venue of the internet with communication devices. Surveillance is underway. I'm documenting under the fake sun relevant positioning, all the demons that are coming into the path, stalking and engineered light around me. Surveillance exceeds relevant positioning. Okay? The entity's engaged in this P.O.C, and I just want to make sure that I document this act of cowardice by these demons that are stalking a woman in a dark parking lot. Those are the demons that engage in violence against women. Those are the demons that are engaging in what is gang stalking a woman. And they're gang stalking me, and it's a show of hostility, and it's an unlawful threat that I captured on video. And these demons are hostile because I'm exposing the fact that they're sex offenders. You're a sex offender, and you're mad because I'm documenting the fact that you're a sex offender. That's what's behind stalking me in a dark parking lot and terrorizing and harassing with impossible light activity. An established fact, a scientific phenomenon that nobody else ever discovered or discussed with us about light. That's what the Ontario Police Department, that is going to be disbanded. You hear that audible activity? The criminal activity of the residents of the city of Ontario is serving to disband these cockroaches of the Ontario fake police department. They're not a police department. They are puppets of Satan. They're puppets of Satan. That's it. They're puppets of Satan. The entity is pacing all around me, and they're helping these puppets of Satan gang stalking. I'll disband the Ontario Police Department, and anybody that wants to gang stalk me with the Ontario Police Department, you'll be going to federal prison. It's as simple as that. It's as simple as that. The entity is engaging in this P.O.C, and it's impunity, it's malice, and it's with the intent to obstruct justice. This is an unlawful threat. The Ontario International Airport is gang stalking where I'm at this plaza, flying over Euclid Avenue and G Street. So they've traveled north from OVITT Family Community Library. Remember, where OVITT Family Community Library is C Street and Euclid. So D, E, F, G. I went up north. I'm up at G and Euclid, and this is where they're stalking. And remember, they stay on the south side of my person in doing so. That's why I'm not observing planes on the north side of my person flying over G Street. That's why I don't have that in documentation. Because in Ontario, they maintain a presence. The planes are stalking, and they always do it to the south of my person. So that means when I go up toward H Street, then they'll be flying over Pizza Hut. When I go up toward H.I.J. Street, well, I think they have more letters up there, H.I.J. 5th Street on Euclid Avenue, then they'll be flying over the Bank of America. They'll be flying over the American Inn. They'll be flying over H Street. They remain south of my person. Okay, I just want to make sure that I document this because this is the entity that's engaging in this P.O.C. and not rapidly, the exact opposite of that, slowing down substantially the internet, which is relevant to their pacing. All they have to do is be present. They're creating light activity. These sex offenders, I documented their license plates. They're molesting me with impossible light because not only are they monitoring, these demons are mad. Understand how hostility and harassment and sexual violence is inflicted by this stalking with light conduct. And and why? Because it's accomplishing surveillance as well. It's in the substance and the purpose of the thing, the mens rea. Okay, it's not just the act, it's the purpose of it and what's the mindset behind it. You're understanding surveillance. So the entities engaged in this, and I just want to make sure I got these cowards on video stalking me in a dark parking lot. It's going on the playlist that I've been accumulating with regard to evidence, which is serving to disband the Ontario Police Department. And those demons, L. Martinez, C. Torres, Nathan Morgan, and B. Hook are going to federal prison. They're engaging in the pattern of conduct that I'm documenting right now. This is exactly what was going on when they were gang stalking in Tracy Banks' apartment pursuant to criminal summoning. And those that are stalking me in a dark parking lot engage in a tendency in lying on my name, lying on my character, lying about who I am. The entities engaging in this P.O.C. and they engage in what is defiantly stalking, and then they engage in a frenzy trying to stop it from, while they're engaged in federal stalking, stop it, slow it down, stifle publishing the documentation. These demons are scared to death. They're scared to death, and it's pathetic. Okay, it's not just my job. If you have not heard, if you can't tell, and I make it abundantly clear, because I don't respect Satan. I don't. It's I'm making it my job. It's not only my job, it is my job to expose and to prosecute, but I'm making it my job to embarrass. If you can't tell, I'm embarrassing Satan. I'm humiliating him for engaging in this pathetic, this show of widespread corruption and disgusting, sexually violent, criminal activity. The very people who are supposed to be engaging in what is law and order. This is lawlessness and chaos. And they're engaging in what the only person that's not violating the law is the one that's being targeted. And I mean exactly what I just said. The entire city of Ontario is a criminal. They're all stalking. Every single household, every single last one of them are demons. All right, it is currently 11:16 p.m. This is pathetic. If you cannot hear the disgust in my voice, it's pathetic. You have the entity that is engaging in stalking, and they are supporting each other in stalking. They're supporting each other and trying to stop it. You cannot stop this. And again, they're highly unintelligent. The evidence shows, the body of evidence, the size, the wealth of evidence that I have. You cannot stop this, and it's going on the internet, but I want to embarrass them for the cowards that they are. First of all, being a coward and stalking a woman in the first place. Second of all, because you engage in this show like you want to appear like you're defiant, like you're disregarding, like what I'm saying doesn't mean anything, but you're having a heart attack and you don't want me publishing on the internet. That's the truth. That's the truth. All right, it's currently 11:17 p.m. This is P.O.C. All right, I want to make sure I get on the record. It's currently... The current time is 11:37 p.m. The entity is sounding helicopter activity for about the past 5 minutes. This is added with the people of the state that are engaging in criminal conduct. They're driving on the streets, on the roads and the highways. This is all criminal activity. It's all pursuant to federal stalking under Title 18. The people of the state are openly and obviously engaged. There's no mystery about the nature of the crime, about what they're doing. They're engaged in criminal presence on the roads and the highways, gang stalking with the Ontario Police Department, who is engaging in what is criminal surveillance using the channels of interstate commerce. They're gang stalking by helicopter, and they're doing so while they are monitoring on the video of the internet with the intent to obstruct justice while I'm publishing the video online right now. So I want to document that for the past 5 minutes, stalking with helicopter activity. And this is after I capture the demons stalking me in a dark parking lot. And this is after I documented a demon of the same department gang stalking me while you see the fake sun in its zenith over the top of my head. And that is after I documented a demon stalking in Starbucks in relevant position at a facilitating venue where that same fake sun is present. It was just covered up. It was a subdued fake sun. And you will be prosecuted whether the fake sun is showing or not, because the documentation shows that surveillance is underway, because I was able to capture that phenomenon. And you only have to capture a supernatural phenomenon one time. There was a lot of documentation about the Ontario Police Department being the demons that they are. Gang stalking by helicopter is why the people of the state and the demons of the Ontario Police are going to federal prison. Going to federal prison, gang stalking, right now crossing path, driving what is north on Euclid Avenue at the traffic stop at G Street in Euclid at 11:29 p.m. And these are the delusional demons that are going to be disbanded, and they are outwardly engaging in what is a show of ego before all of the demons that are watching them. The people of the state are going to watch these demons be destroyed. They're going to watch them be disbanded. You're going to watch them be sentenced to federal prison. But until then, the demons are engaging in what is a show of ego, and they are serving to their own own inevitable demise. They are being prosecuted for domestic terrorism, and they are serving as a tutorial for how domestic terrorism by corrupt police departments is executed in this country, where criminal surveillance of a satanic nature is underway. They're concerned about looking a certain way while the people of the state are watching them being exposed and being prosecuted as a whole department, and they're concerned about looking a certain way, and so they're openly engaged in criminal conduct that I easily document in order to prosecute them and put their co-defendants, Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, B. Hook, and what's this demon's name? Nathan Morgan, C. Torres, B. Hook, and L. Martinez. She's going to federal prison. They're all going to federal prison while the entity is openly gang stalking. It's currently 11:40 p.m. Crossing path on the roads and the highways, crossing path in the sky space, federal stalking using the channels of interstate commerce while they're engaged in what is monitoring, and the monitoring purpose right now is with the intent to obstruct justice. Also crossing path in the line of vision, communicating a threat as a stalker, as a kidnapper, as a sex offender, while you know that you're being documented as well. This is an unlawful threat that's not going to be tolerated under federal law. The Ontario Police Department is facing inevitable disbanding while they're concerned about things that don't matter. But this is, again, these are psychopaths that are concerned with all the little puppets that are gang stalking with them. They're concerned about what the people that can't pay their rent, what they think about being about them being targeted by me with documentation and evidence. Get this helicopter activity, because the Ontario Police Department were gang stalking in a dark parking lot, and those demons are serving for what is the disbanding of the Ontario Police. It's currently 11:41 p.m. That's P.O.C. Okay, you can hear that audible activity, 11:42 p.m. It's happening in the engineered light. You saw the light show, the gang surrounding me. That gang was my shadow. That's where the Ontario Police Department is engaging in criminal surveillance throughout all of the city of Ontario, where they follow me around at every corner and at every location in what is engineered light. It is unmistakable surveillance, and it is that which is done in concert with the people of the state. And the people of the state's criminal engagement in gang stalking is also serving to disband those sex offenders that are stalking me in dark parking lots, and they're stalking me in helicopters. The city of Ontario is stalking me in commercial airline planes as well, and they're doing so while they know that they're being documented for that unprecedented violence against a woman, gang stalking. It is currently 11:42 p.m. The entity is gang stalking under the fake moon that is now over me at nightfall. The entity is engaging in what is exactly what I stated, concerned with what is some superficial appearance, but they don't look strong and defiant. They look foolish. They look like cowards stalking a woman, and this woman is prosecuting them and having them disbanded. So this is some sort of hollow delusion with regard to some sort of, you're not winning any cookie or prizes by stalking in the first place. That is where I'm from, that's nothing to be proud about. That's not gangster. That's not where it's at all. They're engaging in what is stalking a woman, and they're stalking a woman who is prosecuting them, and they continuously feed into their own disbanding. It's inevitable. They're not only going to be disbanded, they're permanently done with law enforcement. Every single last person with the Ontario Police. This is terrorism, and this is an unprecedented basis of criminal conduct by law enforcement. This is showing the unfit disqualification for law enforcement at all with regard to terrorism while you're in law enforcement, and you are permanently done with law enforcement. This department is being disbanded for engaging in what is taking the liberty of an American citizen, kidnapping, and they've kidnapped a series of times. Well, they have no authority under the law because they're stalking. They're engaging in surveillance, and so you're engaged in just upright theft of my property. They've stolen my property, exercising authority under the law that they don't have. They've engaged in what is kidnapping me, exercising authority under the law that they do not have. They've engaged in what is defaming my character while they are engaging in this criminal system. And they are, as the documentation shows, facts actually support them actually mentally ill ones, and they're providing evidence against themselves. The Ontario Police Department is still pacing in helicopter right now while the train is the means of audible activity as opposed to the sound of the helicopter while they fly over. They are still pacing in the sky space, and they're doing so with the people of the state who are in Engineer Light. And it's 11:44 p.m. where the entity is presenting evidence against itself. Remember what the demons in the dark parking lot are doing. They're stalking, just like the demons are with helicopter. It's the same department, and that's exactly what was going on while the demon under the fake sun this afternoon at the U.S. Bank, gang stalking with UPS, stalking with light activity. That's exactly what the Ontario Police Department, as I've been documenting them all day. He went into the Starbucks to engage in what is communicating a threat when they're gang stalking with the people of the state, doing so while you are documenting. They're targeting me because I am exposing them as well. The entire department is engaged in stalking me, keeping me under surveillance, in concert with the demon-possessed people of the state who are a very highly unintelligent and ill-equipped group of degenerates who are engaging in what is stalking in a manner where they're surrounded with evidence as well. And the entity that's acting with regard to gang stalking as one, the evidence provided by one co-defendant is going to be used against the other. It's simple like that. As you prosecute any conspiracy, the entity is engaging in the P.O.C. and is pacing in helicopter, and is doing so. And you're always mindful of what happened today. You saw the entity gang stalking me under the fake sun. You saw the entity gang stalking me inside a Starbucks. You saw the entity gang stalking in a dark parking lot tonight. And the entity is gang stalking by helicopter like they always are. The same pattern of conduct by the Ontario Police Department, gang stalking in all of those ways today. It is currently 11:46 p.m. This is what is serving to disband the high school graduates, these sociopaths, these psychopaths that are whose time as a corrupt law enforcement agency engaging in lawlessness and calling it law enforcement, it's over. And the demons that I document engaging in kidnapping, those demons are going to prison. They're going to prison. They're not pass and go, collecting $200. They're going to prison. They're going to prison. This body of evidence as well, you have the department now adding to its own. There's no doubt about the fact that you're going to prison for kidnapping, engaging in this criminal system. You're going to prison. Straight up, you're going to prison. It is currently 11:46 p.m. The entity is monitoring and doing so flying over in helicopter after I just published the video of the Ontario Police gang stalking me in a dark parking lot where I am a woman and they're terrorizing me with impossible light activity. That's a threat to my well-being. That's a threat to my safety, my liberty. That's a threat to my right to be free from criminal stalking by a corrupt government, which is what the corrupt police department represents. And they're doing so with knowledge because they're monitoring the evidence that I am maintaining in order to protect myself from them. And they're doing so with the intent to obstruct justice. And that's all to be at the forefront of the mind of the federal courts that are going to hear this, that are going to provide justice, because the Ontario Police Department shall be no more. This is necessary with regard to sending a clear message in this country about what no government shall ever engage in and get away with it under no circumstances. Ever. No one should ever have to go through what I did, what I documented. The average person does not survive it. Okay, it is currently 11:47 p.m. This is P.O.C. Okay, it's 11:51 p.m. The people of the state gang stalking 6NGW189. And this third party is gang stalking with the Ontario Police, who at 11:51 p.m. just now stopped sounding helicopter. Of course, they're always stalking. That's exactly what I'm documenting on a daily basis. But sounding helicopter activity, which is designed to communicate a threat. Okay, when the entity is engaging what is sounding gunshots, for example, when the entity is sounding helicopter activity, the entity can gang stalk you in a helicopter and then sound amplified grasshoppers. Okay, the entity is communicating a threat with everything and all the ways in which it does so when they're monitoring. And it's also relevant because the entity intends to inflict psychological torture. 9LFP420. The entity sounding helicopter activity at 11:51 p.m. is when it ends. The entity is maintaining light activity through the people of the state, through these third parties who I'm documenting by license plate. They're gang stalking in the middle of the night. They're gang stalking a woman. They're gang stalking after having committed a kidnapping again. Remember, the entity committed a kidnapping. I'm documenting documenting those that are stalking me after engaging in kidnapping me as one, and they're doing so while they're monitoring the evidence about them stalking me. The stalker knows that they're being documented, and they're still stalking me after having recently committed a kidnapping as well, which they are not ignorantly being documented. They know that they're being documented, and they are stalking me in the middle of the night, and they're doing it while the Ontario police is stalking in a helicopter. They're doing it in concert. That's relevant to why the people of the state are going to federal prison for this sort of conduct. This is relevant to why the entity is going to be facing disbanding. The Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. They passed the line. They crossed the line, and there's no going back. They're going to be disbanded. But the entity is engaging in this P.O.C. 11:51 sounding helicopter activity. In doing so, the video is already published as of 11:53 p.m. You will see the video on YouTube, and I will upload it to the Google Drive as soon as possible. It is published on the video on the internet. The entity that is stalking me is threatening my life on a ceaseless basis. So publishing evidence about what the entity is doing, where the entity is doing it, when the entity is doing it, is for my own safety, where I'm facing what is a system of public corruption, and every single last person is engaged in what is gang stalking. So it is also relevant for real-time knowledge about where it is that I'm at and what's going on with regard to the people of the state who are gang stalking and furtherance of murder and kidnapping, like stalking in a dark parking lot, license 57127T3. The entity is engaging in this at 11:54 p.m. And the entity is sounding helicopter activity after I just finished publishing, so following around as I'm walking in the parking lot now. This is with regard to the evidence against the Ontario Police Department. Well, is there actually any substance here? I mean, was the police department actually stalking Erica Spencer? Yeah, there's no question there. So this is what is so helpful about the very foolish behavior that I document about the Ontario Police. They are stalking in the path as I'm walking west on G Street. This is the entity that's gang stalking by helicopter. You can hear in the background. No longer staying over Euclid Avenue, flying in circles over there, following me as I'm walking down G Street, and so is the population. And your knowledge about their following is because of the environment as well, the multiple shadows, the engineered light. During the day, it's the fake sun. That's how you know that they're all stalking me together as an entity. All right? The Ontario Police Department is literally following me around in a helicopter. As unheard of as that is, it's a fact. And it is very clear evidence that I have consistently captured for a very prolonged period of time. And there is no genuine controversy regarding the evidence that I have already gathered, and I've already proven beyond a reasonable doubt that the Ontario Police is engaged in criminal stalking, criminal surveillance, no warrant or probable cause. There's not even, that you wouldn't get a warrant or probable cause for this because the government has no legitimate interest in what the Ontario Police Department. They're engaged in outright surveillance of everything, every aspect of your life. That's entirely unconstitutional. It has nothing to do with law enforcement. They're stalkers, they're sex offenders, and they're demons. That's why they're doing it. Okay, they're following me in helicopter right now, and they're doing so while I'm walking west on G Street. That's why you were able to hear it. Okay, and the reason why they were flying over Pizza Hut, that's because I was over there at Pizza Hut at Euclid and G Street. Okay, so that's why that's what stalking is. In case you did not know what that is, I'm not trying to be facetious. I'm not trying to be too didactic, but the entity is clearly, I'm speaking like this on purpose because I literally document the police department is following me around, and it is very specific. It is me in particular only. The police department follows me from place to place. That's traditional stalking. I've shown you the specific environment where you know it's not just the police department that's stalking me from place to place. It's an entity. They're demons, and this is criminal surveillance, and they're gang stalking. Okay, so I just wanted to let you know that they're literally following me around from place to place, and this is the inability to control themselves. And all I do is press record. I just press record. You're witnessing the disbanding of a corrupt police department that is, its demise is because they follow Satan. These are the demon possessed, and their corruption is directly related to the fact that they are demon possessed. So their corruption, their criminal conduct, their unethical behavior, their improper conduct as a department is because it is rooted in the fact that they're demon possessed, and this is demonic behavior that is criminal. as well, to put it in those terms. This is demonic behavior that is criminal. All right. So anyway, the entity is engaging what is stalking me as I'm walking on west on G Street, and the entity is engaging obsessively listening. They're listening to how many times I inhale and exhale. They're listening to every word that I say. They're listening to every syllabic breakdown of what I pronounce, everything that I'm articulating. So the entity is intentionally ceasing to engage in helicopter activity. That's what I mean by that. Everything that you hear and don't hear, the entity is obsessed with me, stalking me. Literally, that's not a compliment. I just want it to be clear. I am not making up information. I don't have to, and I don't think that it's like fun or whatever to come up with this type of weird situation. These are demons, and that's why they're weird like that. And their weirdness is shown through the environment where they're stalking me. And that's why I hone in on the environment. Look at this light activity over here, and you'll know that they're stalking. And you also know that they're mentally ill because they're looking over to the left or right, like they're consumed in another activity. And that activity that they're doing around me is to monitor. And that's a psychopath that engages in that sort of duplicitous type behavior. Very sick. That's Satan. Okay. So anyway, it's currently 11:59 p.m. and at the TABOR professional building. And this is documentation showing the entity following me around from place to place today, which is what I've been documenting for years as the state of California has been gang stalking me. Where I get up in the morning and where I go, the entity is stalking as I go from place to place. And it is documentation that I maintain by podcast and as I publish it with regard to the ability to prove the fact that that is the case and how the entity does it and the environment where you know that it's very specific to me. It is currently 11:59 p.m. where the demons of the Ontario Police Department are concentrating their helicopter activity where I'm seated now, like they were when I was at the 7-Eleven at Euclid and G Street, like they were when I was in the parking lot leaving the Starbucks, like they were when I was seated in the Starbucks today, and I documented the gang stalkers of that department walking in and ordering a drink so that they can be in close proximity to me. That's how obsessed with me and concerned with me they are, and that they were doing when they were gang stalking with UPS and the fake sun was over me. They were not concerned about a conversation with UPS. They didn't go in the bank to handle any actual business. They're engaged in a lot of, forgive my French, a lot of BSing while they're stalking in the path, and the people of the state are creating light activity while the Ontario Police Department are gang stalking me. That's what you saw, the Ontario Police Department exhibiting severe obsession with me. And because of that illegitimate government concern, government conduct, they are going to be disbanded. Their obsession with me resulted in what was a kidnapping on May 29, 2025. They're going to federal prison for that, and the Ontario Police Department is being disbanded. And what you hear in the background, a lot of loud pops and bangs, the chaotic audible activity is literally based on what I say. As you listen to me speak, the demons are very, very provoked. They're triggered by it. The audible activity is conveying hostility and aggression. In the same way that stalking in helicopters and flying around circles around me, that's conveying hostility and aggression and mental instability at that. And the demons are doing it based on what it is that I'm stating about them. And all I'm stating is what they're doing. They don't like the fact that they're stalking. And even though that shows you how sick they are, you're stalking me. That's you doing that. And all I'm stating is that you're stalking me. And you don't like that I'm publishing information about you stalking me, but you're stalking me and you're upset because I'm exposing the fact that you're stalking me. So when you sit down and you think about that, then you can begin to understand how crazy the males and females are who work for the Ontario Police Department. This is demon possession. It is exposing mental illness. And this is how you get to stalking me in police vehicles and by helicopter. In concert with the people of the state. It's 12:02 a.m. It's now June 14, 2025, but this is going to remain for the podcast for June 13, 2025. This is P.O.C.